From Pekin Memorial Stadium, it's a big school battle between two teams separated by a 2.5-hour drive. After a dominant Week 1 win, Kanye Tyler and the Pekin Dragons host highly touted defensive end Anthony Cunningham and the Belleville East Lancers. It's the Clutch Sports Media Game of the Week, presented by Zach Butler State Farm. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Pekin alongside Cody Roskins. It's Larry Larson in with you on ClutchSportsIL.com. Thanks for spending your Friday evening with us. And Cody, the Week 1 jitters are out for both teams, and these squads are starting to settle into the rhythm of the season.
Yeah, the proverbial Week 1 rush should be out of the system, even though both these schools played a spring season, Larry, as we both know. It should be an interesting contest, like you said, two highly talented prospects on both sides of the ball. Kanye Taylor, of course, for Pekin, and Anthony Cunningham for Belleville East. We'll have to see which one of them is going to have to give in the trenches.
Absolutely. It should be a battle to watch all night. We'll get to that a little bit more in a little bit, but as we mentioned just a few moments ago on the top of the show, Belleville East 0-1. So far this season. They dropped their Week 1 contest 13-6 to Collinsville. And I talked to their head coach, Michael Harrison, about that loss. And he said really fundamentals were the struggle there.
Yeah, getting back to the basics. Like we said, the Week 1 jitters are gone. The rush should be knocked off. This is going to be a big telling week. In the history of high school football, I've never seen a week maybe more pivotal until later in the year as Week 2. Week 2 is your big improvement week. You get your first game of adjustments down. You get your first fresh tape of the season. This will be a very telling week for both these squads.
Well, we've got Belleville East 0-1 on one side, and then the Pekin Dragons, who are 1-0 on the other side after a very convincing Week 1 win, 21-0 at Rock Island. And it feels like they're undefeated, but in the middle of the season, based on how much confidence this team has.
Yeah, like you said, Larry, they took down Rock Island 21-0 last week on the back of Kanye Taylor's. As a team, they had 387 rushing yards on 62 attempts. Kanye Taylor, the junior tailback, had 268 on 25 of his own. So they're averaging almost over 10 yards a carry. He's going to be a big factor today for Pekin to try and improve to 2-0.
Not only on offense, but on both sides of the ball. And we'll take a look at some key players, and they are the two key players that we've mentioned throughout this open. It's Anthony Cunningham on one side and then Kanye Tyler on the other.
Yeah, we'll start first with Anthony Cunningham, number 52, the captain, offer so far from the University of Minnesota and the Iowa State University Cyclones. So we'll go ahead and start with that. Shifting over now to Kanye Taylor. Like we said, Larry had a big week last week. It's going to be pivotal for Pekin, a ground-oriented offense, to get off to a fast start and get off in a hurry.
Cunningham offers on the table from Iowa State and Minnesota. I know you're a big Cyclones fan. Maybe you're watching a future Cyclone tonight.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's always cool to see what kind of prospects. Of course, won't be pulling for either side here tonight, but it'll be definitely cool to see what would happen there. But Anthony Cunningham down on that defensive end spot, it's going to be very critical to see how fast he can get off the line of scrimmage and shut down Kanye Taylor, because they will go as this defense goes tonight.
And then with Kanye, he's also a junior. Apparently, no Division I coaches have been in contact with Kanye, which is interesting to me because, as you mentioned a few moments ago, he was absolutely dominant in Week 1, over 260 yards. I talked to him about that college coaching factor and that recruiting process for him, and he said, honestly, I'm just going to keep my head on straight either way, whether coaches talk to me or not.
And that's the right approach. What's the best way to get college coaches to notice you? You got to play bigger and brighter. So how do you improve from your 268 on 25 last week? Try and top it. You got to set yourself a milestone, and I don't see any reason why Kanye Taylor doesn't have the highest ceiling here tonight for Pekin's offense.
Absolutely. We're about 5 minutes roughly away from game time. As you can see on your screen, the band's still performing here at Pekin Memorial Stadium. Doing a darn good job, if I do say so myself. I don't know, Cody, were you in the high school band back in high school?
Not in the high school band. Middle school band, alto saxophone. It was a great time.
Okay.
Before I decided to trade that in for some sports equipment once I got into high school, so.
I can honestly say I've never been musically inclined, but there's nothing quite like the sound of a band on Friday night, especially the drum line.
Absolutely. Doesn't it just feel right, Larry? We saw them making their entrance towards the back here of the backside of the stadium. They did their little pregame walk around, got us all hyped up, and there's just nothing like a Friday night fall football game, and we're going to have a great one on tap.
Both teams in the locker room here at the present moment. We're going to step aside and let the band take care of the national anthem. We'll be right back with you here in a moment.
Cadet Anna Woodside, Cadet Noah Steger, and Cadet Tristan Melko. Ladies and gentlemen, your marquee Dragons.
That was a rousing rendition of the national anthem by the Pekin Community High School Band. Thanks for joining us on your Friday night. Pekin and Belleville East coming up here in a few short moments. An on-conference battle in week 2 of the IHSA season. It's Larry Larson and Cody Roskins in with you on Clutch Sports Media. Thanks to all our friends from Pekin and our new friends from Belleville East for tuning in tonight. Cody, just a few moments ago, we discussed our players to watch. How about we get to our keys to the game now, starting with Belleville East. They're going to have to get off the bus fast.
Yeah, Larry, you mentioned it in the pregame open. Having the long bus ride here, it's very easy to get stuck in a sluggish start getting off the bus. They're going to have to hit the ground running as they're going to get the ball first to start the game.
As for Pekin, be flexible. A part of their game plan, I talked to offensive coordinator Zach Williams and head coach Doug Nutter earlier this week, and they said, we're just planning on taking what the defense gives us, so they're going to need to be flexible with their game plan, but stay aggressive is the main key for Pekin.
Yeah, and like you said, staying flexible, that could come from any number of places, the short passes, short run game, and of course, they're going to try and stop Mr. Tyler in the backfield, so they're going to have to maybe look over the top a little bit more tonight.
Clearing the way, another key for the Pekin Dragons, their offensive line is their foremost strength. If you ask any one of those players on that team, they will say our offensive line is our strongest feature. And then Belleville East, going back to the Lancers, be smart with the football. The Lancers played 2 quarterbacks, both sophomores, and each of them threw an interception in their Week 1 loss at Collinsville. They got to cut down on that.
Yeah, turnovers are never going to help you win the game unless you're obviously the one taking it away. And 2 younger, inexperienced quarterbacks running the 2 QB system. We'll have to see which one of them steps up today and really protects the pigskin.
We are just moments away from the first quarter of action between the Pekin Dragons and the Belleville East Lancers. Pekin Dragons out of the Middle-Illini Conference, Peoria area schools, and then of course Belleville East out of the Southwestern Conference, home to a handful of schools in the Metro East area, just outside of St. Louis on the Illinois side of things. Biggest school, or perhaps biggest football powerhouse in that conference, East St. Louis. So this is a good warm-up for Belleville East before they get into conference play.
Yeah, playing one of the largest schools in the greater Peoria area, of course, in Pekin, with their 1,800 enrolled students.
Really, I would say the largest school in the Peoria area. They're a 7A school, whereas Belleville East is 8A. And talking with Mike Harrison, head coach for Belleville East, he said that's the main reason they traveled for this game. It's tough finding other schools their size outside of their conference. So the Lancers took the hike up to Central Illinois. It's time for kickoff. and it's going to be Miley Hansen, the soccer player turned football player for the Pekin Dragons. Hansen, the first girl to ever play football for Pekin Community High School. She was 3 for 3 on extra points last week in the Dragons' Week 1 victory over Rock Island. Shoot booted away. The Dragons deferred the kickoff. They'll get it to start the second half. We are underway in Pekin. It's a short kick, fair caught beyond the 40-yard line. It's going to be a short field for the Lancers to start the ball game.
Kickoff is handled by number 7, Jaden Hardy.
The starters for Belleville East to watch tonight, Cody. We mentioned the player to watch is Anthony Cunningham. He's going to play both sides of the ball on the line, but in terms of skill players, so to speak, Braylon Grayson and DJ Melender, the 2 quarterbacks, and Moise Trimble in the backfield. Right now, the quarterback is Melender. He sends a man in motion. It's Walker. And the give is to Trimble, and he is swallowed up by the front 4 for Pekin.
Yeah, just trying to establish the inside run game, set a quick motion, just try to see if it was man coverage and how they'll line up with these receivers tonight.
That'll be a loss of 2 for Moise Trimble. Trimble, the junior, standing at 5'10", 200 pounds. Talking with Coach Harrison, he said there are high expectations for that young man. He had 6 carries for 101 yards in Week 1. Some subs coming in and out of the ball game for the Lancers. Little confusion. Braylon Grayson, the quarterback, holding his arms out towards the sideline. Second and 11 coming up for the Lancers. The man in motion is Walker. Another give to Trimble, trying to get through the line, and he can't once again. A gang of red uniforms stops him in his tracks, 3rd and long.
Yeah, 3rd and not desirable here coming up for Belleville East. Once again, trying to get that inside zone run game going. But Pekin so far in the first 2 carries has done a great job in squeezing down the gaps and really not allowing Belleville East to get to the second level and get hats on those linebackers.
Divine Slater checks into the ball game, checks out of the ball game, I should say. Julian Bennett into the ball game, and you can find him in the slot, or excuse me, on the bottom of your screen. He's the outside receiver. 3 lined up at the top of the screen. Grayson, the quarterback, looking to toss. He throws out wide, and it's Butler with the reception. Butler with a few blocks, and he's bumped out of bounds just past the original chains. A big hit from Kanye Tyler. Who else?
That's exactly right. He's going to establish himself on both sides of the ball tonight, and it's going to start here on the first series of plays for Belleville East. They are having now to punt it away. Great stand by Pekin to open up the game.
It's 3 and out for the Lancers. Levi Burke and Kanye Tyler back to return. The snap is good, and the punt tumbles just past the 40, and Tyler will watch it bounce. And one of the gunners for Belleville East downs that football. Pretty good punt, all things considered. Now the Dragons will have their first offensive set. We got a flag down. It'll be holding on the Dragons. So we'll see where this ball is spotted.
Yeah, it was interesting, Larry, because Belleville East didn't allow the ball to roll as far as it could have on the bounce. So they're going to say where he was first touched, and that would be the end marker where the ball would be spotted. But it's all going to depend on where this holding call happened at when that ball was in the air.
There was a flag on the play.
Still waiting on the officials. They're deliberating here. An early delay in action. But that's not going to deter the Pekin offense, led by junior quarterback Scotty Jordan. He started 2 years at the sophomore level before getting the call up to varsity for head coach Doug Nutter. And in Week 1, Cody, it was a run-heavy attack for the Dragons, but now it might be a pass-heavy attack, just depending on what type of set the Lancers come out in. And now this ball's going to get
And I think they're going to re-kick this.
Yes, indeed. So a little bit of confusion here early on. It's going to be a replay of 4th down. Doug Nutter, the head coach on the sideline, you'll see him at the bottom of the screen there in the left corner, trying to figure out what the heck's going on here. As are we. It's a 1st down for Belleville East.
So they're going to say, Larry, that what happened there with the holding on the Dragons, that somehow affected the punt itself, which essentially is a live ball foul, which gives now Belleville East a fresh set of downs, so it's 1st and 10, and now Pekin has to run their defense back out on the field.
What a turn of events. Braylon Grayson and company back out on the field. Grayson with a hard count. Looks to the sideline for the play call. Trimble the back beside Grayson. There's the give to Trimble. He's got some blockers on the outside, past the 50 and bowls over a man at the 45. A hefty gain on 1st down for Trimble.
Yeah, getting right back into the ground game for Belleville East, able to string that one towards us here on the near sideline. His longest run of the game for 6. We'll have to keep an eye on that battle in the trenches. We mentioned that both offensive and defensive lines are going to have to win tonight for either squad for them to have success.
Trimble averaged a staggering 16.8 yards per carry in week 1. Ball in Pekin territory now. Braylon Grayson, the sophomore, still the quarterback, sends a man in motion. Bennett slips a little bit. Another give to Trimble, and he's got no space.
Once again, great gap discipline that time by the Pekin front 4. That 4-3 defense is specialized to stopping and containing the run. Your 2 ends jobs are main contained, and so when you force everything back into the linebackers, your linebackers are going to thank you later, and they're going to have a field day.
That front 4 for Pekin: Dawson Reese, Chase Rhodes, Braden Beckham, and Caleb Cope. Cope, the left end here, towards the top of your screen. He's going to play both sides of the football for Pekin, and he is a force to be reckoned with. Linebackers shifting all around for the Dragons. 3rd and 3. And a flag flies. We'll await the call. It's going to be false start against the Lancers. A big blow to their 3rd down chances.
Yeah, and after getting that gift on 4th down in which they would have had the ball punted away, they're now risking another opportunity to move the ball here before we've even seen the Pekin offense take the field.
It's been an interesting start to the game. In case you're getting a late start and just joining us, it appeared as if the Lancers were forced to punt the ball away to Pekin. They did so. A flag flew, and after much deliberation between the officials, the Lancers got the ball back, fresh set of downs, trying not to squander it here. 3rd and 8. The pass complete over the middle, and that'll be enough to move the sticks. A reception to Kerry Martin gives the Lancers their first down of the night.
Yeah, running the far side slant route towards the teeth of the defense. He had an inside drag route accompanying it, which takes the front side linebacker away. And he's one-on-one on the backside. Great throw and catch, and another set of downs.
Braylon Grayson remains on the field, as does Moise Trimble. Here's Trimble again, bumped around in the backfield, nowhere to go. Dawson Reese finishes off the tackle on 1st down.
Yeah, and that time Belleville East tried pulling 2 guards to the far side of the field to open up a running lane, but Pekin, again, with great gap discipline, able to sit, hold down the gaps until help comes in the form of their linebackers, and that's another tackle for loss.
The 2nd of the ball game for that front 4 for Pekin, and I think that speaks to the athleticism of the Dragons linemen and linebackers for that matter. They're quick to capitalize on those gaps. 4 wide receivers spread out for Grayson. He looks over the middle again and completes it to Bennett, weaving in and out of traffic for another 1st down, and the passing game is really working for Belleville East.
Yeah, that time they had the more receivers towards us here on the near boundary. Just run a little spot hook in the soft spot of the defense, see how much space you can make out of it, and that time Belleville East able to capitalize for another 1st down.
1st and 10 from the 24 for Belleville East. Braylon Grayson tossed a touchdown and an interception in week 1, trying to lead a tone-setting drive here in week 2. Pass complete to Bennett. Again, Bennett with 2 receptions. breaking away as the early favorite for quarterback Braylon Grayson.
And I'm not sure that they were supposed to have two wide receivers right shoulder to shoulder with each other, but I mean, you come down with it. The defense didn't catch it, so can you really complain, Larry?
Whatever works. 2nd and 6 coming up. 7 minutes remain in the first quarter of action.
2nd down for the Lancers.
Based off what we've seen so far, it's been a lot of zone so far for Pekin. Maybe look for man-to-man here as they try to cover the 3 wide receivers.
High snap and the give to Trimble. Trying for some room on the outside. 2 flags fly in. Could be some big calls coming up for the implications of this drive.
Yeah, and those were fairly quick flags, Larry. Maybe a block in the back or a holding call. And we'll be holding.
Holding indeed. And that sets Belleville East back 10 yards.
And that's one of the things for Belleville East that I don't think we've capitalized enough on, Larry, so far, is that they've got to stay in the down and distance that's comfortable for them. Being behind the sticks on 2nd and 3rd down, like we saw early on in the opening drive, isn't going to help their cause. They have to find a way to cut down on these penalties.
Again, it goes back to the fundamentals, and that's what head coach Mike Harrison said that the Lancers struggled with in week 1. Braylon Grayson and company with a tall task here, 2nd and 17. Grayson looks right and completes. And the receiver's bumped out of bounds. Jamal Dixon with the reception there.
Yeah, just on the far sideline, running a little curl route. Again, finding that soft spot, able to get upfield for a little bit. And now it sets up in 3rd down and 10. Not necessarily everything's open in the playbook here, but with the down and distance to go, sitting at about the, call it 24-yard line, Larry, you definitely have the potential to stretch the defense here.
3rd and 10.
With the ball being situated relatively deep in Pekin territory, perhaps they use the run here to set up a 4th down pass.
That's definitely an option, Larry. Or again, if they feel confident enough in their kicking game, they could take a shot here and kick it from here for a field goal attempt as well.
Bennett in motion, snap, drop, flag flies. That'll be false start.
Yeah, we just harped on it, Larry. The fundamentals, keeping the laundry off the field, so to speak. So far, not been very attentive to that on this opening drive. Probably going to be a passing down coming up here. Maybe look for them to run a little play action and take a shot on the sideline.
Penalties having an early effect in this one. A penalty on Pekin on a punt from Belleville East gave the Lancers the ball back after they went 3 and out. And now a laundry list of penalties against Belleville East in Pekin territory. Grayson looking to pass and completes to Kerry Martin. He dodges a tackle and gets brought down past the 25. It's going to be close, and it should be enough to move the sticks. Another 1st down for the Lancers.
And that's one of those things with the trips formation out of the shotgun. It's so hard for the defense at the high school level to cover out of that 43 defense. A lot of times the safety is going to be responsible for that interior slot wide receiver. That time they use him as a decoy, throw to the outside X receiver, and a little catch and run gives them a fresh set of downs.
Working through a brief technical difficulty. We'll do our best to bring you a little theater of the mind here. Braylon Grayson out of the shotgun. Now a man in motion. Grayson gives up the middle to Trimble. Trimble shaking out of tackles at the line of scrimmage, spins forward for a nice gain. Now a little extracurricular activity off the side of the football. No flags fly. It's a gain of 4 for Moise Trimble.
And we've seen a couple of times now, Larry. We've seen them send the slot wide receiver in motion around the quarterback and running back, setting up a triple option type look. He could either hand that off, keep it himself, or pitch that off later in the game. We saw that in the JV game beforehand, and it worked for big yardage against the Pekin JV team.
Grayson out of the gun again. Trimble beside him. Here's Trimble again, bouncing around in the backfield. Not much of a gain there. He dives forward for a pickup of 2.
Yeah, and that's a good play call on 2nd down and short. It sets up 3rd down and manageable again. You didn't hammer them for a big gain, but these 2 and 1 yard carries now will add up to be 3, 4, 5, 6 yard carries come quarter 3 and quarter 4.
In case you're just joining us, Belleville East has had the football for the entirety of this game so far.
Well, what's one of the best ways to beat Kanye Tyler? Keep him on the sideline, but I know he's playing defense here, but if he can't carry the rock for Pekin, I guess no harm done.
No harm done yet, at least. The Dragons will likely have the football at some point. But for now, it's 3rd and 4 for the Lancers. Grayson chased out of the pocket. He throws it away. A big 4th down coming up early in this ball game.
Yeah, and the pass protection for Belleville East just breaks down up front. The integrity of the offensive line was exposed, again, by that strong front 4 for Pekin, able to get into the face of the quarterback, and it's hard to throw off your back foot against this athletic defense.
Looks like the special teams unit may be coming on for Belleville East. They're going to try the field goal here.
4th down and 4. Cannon Walker for the field goal.
Cannon Walker will do the place kicking. Good hold and a good kick. Belleville East on the board after a long drive. It's 3-0 Lancers.
Yeah, ideally after that super long drive for Belleville East, you would like to cap it off with a touchdown, but the bottom line is they gave you the ball back via penalty. You were able to take advantage on a possession you otherwise wouldn't have. Put some points on the board, and with 3:23 left to go in the first quarter, Larry, we will finally, supposedly, see the Pekin offense take the field for the first time.
Barring any sort of onside kick, we will indeed see the Dragons get the football. And we want to take this opportunity to remind you that tonight's presentation of the Game of the Week is brought to you by Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. For all your insurance needs, call 309-347-3115 or visit sfbutler.com. Again, Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin for all your insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, Zach Butler in State Farm is there. Non-conference battle in week 2 of the IHSA football season. Both these teams with mild success during the spring. Pekin going through a little bit of growing pains. They had a very young roster. Belleville East, on the other hand, graduated 33 seniors from their spring team. So now their young players are getting a chance to see the field, and perhaps that will result in some growing pains. Kanye Tyler back deep to return, while Cannon Walker gives it a boot. It's a slow rolling kick, bounces off of a Pekin hand, and now it's scooped up. Weaving in and out of traffic, and the returner's brought down past the 35-yard line.
Kickoff return by number 22, Levi Burke. On the stop,
Levi Burke on the return. And the Dragons will start the drive with favorable field position.
Yeah, starting just shy of their own 40-yard line. Great starting field position. I imagine we'll see, like you said, Larry, in the open, a lot of ground and pound football to open. And we'll see how their offense will play off of that based off the defensive look so far for Belleville East.
Scott Jordan, the junior quarterback in the spread offense. Tyler in motion, fake jet sweep. And that pass is a little bit too far out of the reach of Bo Benassi.
That time, Belleville East came out with a 3-2-6 looking defense. Only 5 in the box. A little surprised maybe wasn't a handoff, but like we said, maybe they script a couple plays out of the gate here, try and get the offense and defense to kind of see what each other are doing. Feeling out process has only just begun for Pekin.
Last week at Rock Island, the Rocks only put 6 men in the box, and as a result, Kanye Tyler and company rushed for well over 300 yards. There's the give to Tyler. He gets through the line of scrimmage and explodes forward to midfield. First down, Pekin.
Yeah, and like we said, you're going to leave a shallow box. Pekin will be all but too happy to hand that rock up the middle. A first down carry, and we got to imagine that Tyler on this drive is going to see it a couple more times.
And you saw there Tyler with yards after contact. That's one thing that head coach Michael Harrison for Belleville East said they need to prevent. They need to gang tackle Tyler in order to bring him down. He gets the rock again and falls forward for a gain of 5.
Yeah, and looking at that last push by the offensive line, they're getting 2-3 yards down the field just on the front line alone before they get hats on the linebackers. So Tyler is going to have a big day so far unless Belleville East. I know it's early, but they got to find a way to really shrink down the gaps in that offensive line.
Jordan out of the pistol. Tyler behind him. Jordan gives to Tyler again, and this time he doesn't get much of anywhere. Perhaps a gain of 1 or 2 on forward progress, but a better job by the Lancers there.
Yeah, a lot better job. And their nose guard that time was able to hold his ground against the center and guard combo blocks. But instead, that allowed the linebackers from Belleville East, the 2 or 3 that came down into the box, to fill the other gaps. And that time, there's not a lot of room to run.
Jordan with a fullback and Tyler in the backfield. There's Tyler looking for the outside. Past the 40, gets a block on the outside. It stays in bounds for a big gain.
Great job by the Pekin offensive line. It's just an outside sweep handoff. They pull a couple of guards along with a lead blocker at tight end, springing it to the sideline, Larry. And so far, Pekin has shown that their offensive line really is their strength.
It absolutely is. It was featured in the Peoria Journal-Star this past week by Adam Duvall. And everybody on this team is certainly appreciative of that unit. Scott Jordan, the quarterback, and Kanye Tyler included. There's the give to Sprecher up the middle. Sprecher got tripped up at the line. Short gain.
And already, Larry, you can kind of see the shift in the defensive front here for Belleville East. They're bringing in one of the slot corners to be tighter to the line of scrimmage to try and force that ball back inside towards their linebackers. We'll see it on the near side of your screen here, just off the side of the right tackle.
Jordan with an option, and he decided to give it to Sprecher, and that did not pay off. Sprecher with another short gain. 3rd and medium here. Do you anticipate the first pass of the game for the Dragons, perhaps, or second, I should say?
It's certainly in play with the amount of handoffs we've seen so far. It's that muscle memory is the idea in play action. You see the ball, hit ball. Well, if the ball's faked to the running back, you're certainly going to take a step or 2 towards it. That's when you take your shot down the field.
Spread formation for the Dragons. A little bit of a false start. The play gets off anyway. Tyler to the outside with space. He gets past the chains.
Yeah, in the same play we saw just a couple downs ago where they were able to pull a couple guards with a lead blocker at tight end and get to the sideline. Belleville East's defensive ends are going to have to find a way to try and pinch down.
DeAndre Clark Jr., the cornerback, bumping Tyler out of bounds there. It looked like Jordan and the center Miles Bridgman were off with the snap count, but it didn't end up mattering. There goes Tyler again, looking for some space on the outside. Shifts through a tackle. That's not Tyler. That's Elijah Hart. Hart gets near the 5-yard line. That moves the chains again. 1st and goal for the Dragons.
And it certainly looked like Tyler in the backfield there with his running style. But now good job once again by Belleville East, able to string it to the near sideline and prevent the longer run. But still, their defensive ends and outside corners may have to try and pack in a little tighter here. Right now, Belleville East is giving up everything and then some on the edges.
We'll see if the Dragons elect to run a play before the first quarter ends. Jordan approaches the line of scrimmage. 3 seconds on the clock. Will they get one off? They will not. That's the first quarter. The difference right now, a field goal off the right leg of Cannon Walker. That's the advantage for the Belleville East Lancers right now. That play coming at 3:23 left in the first quarter after a long drive. But now the Dragons looking for a response. And we'll take this pause to remind you that tonight's presentation of the Game of the Week on Clutch Sports Media is brought to you by Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. For all your insurance needs, call 309-347-3115 or visit sfbutler.com. Both those numbers and that address on your screen right now. So visit your good neighbor in State Farm. It's Zach Butler. Thanks to Zach for his consistent support of high school sports here in Pekin and around the greater Peoria area. Cody, if you were to craft up a response to that field goal and long drive for the Dragons, I don't think you could have scripted it any better than this long drive for the Dragons.
That's exactly right, Larry, and we mentioned how long Belleville East had the ball. If you take a look, as we take a look at the Belleville East offensive stats, they held the ball for 46 yards worth of the field. Meanwhile, on the first drive for Pekin, they've already eclipsed that at 56, and they're within striking distance with the goal to go down in distance.
You gotta imagine, with goal to go, Kanye Tyler might be your guy. He rushed for 1 touchdown last week at Rock Island in a Pekin victory.
Looks like they've respotted the ball here. It's going to be just short, maybe 6 inches, if that, for the first down.
2nd and 2, a little motion on the line, and that'll be on Pekin. False start on Miles Bridgman.
Ball start against the Dragons will start
And
at
that's a
5
big
yards.
setback.
It'll be
5
second down and
yards.
6 for the
So
Dragons.
no goal to go. 2nd and 7 coming up to start the second quarter.
Still okay, though, if you're looking at the down and distance. 2nd down and 6 still very manageable. You say you get 4 or 5 yards here. That puts you in 3rd down and short. Have everything open in the playbook after that.
Bo Benassi, the wide receiver at the bottom of your screen. Quarterback keeper for Jordan, and he can't go anywhere.
Scott Jordan.
The defensive line got to him quick, led by Anthony Cunningham and O.J. Mosley.
Yeah, and I'm not entirely sure that Pekin was ready to snap the ball there, Larry. They had all their skilled position players looking to the Pekin sideline, and the ball was snapped, so maybe the offensive line with a little miscommunication.
That's the 2nd time we've seen that today from the Dragons. We'll see if they can get it figured out.
8 for the Dragons.
Here's where I think we could see a pass attempt here, Larry. It's 3rd down and 8. Again, you want to try and answer that field goal drive by Belleville East. It'd be a real shame if you put the ball in play here and had a turnover.
Bo Benassi and Dominic Brown spread out wide to the left. Jordan with the snap, looking for Benassi to the end zone. Touchdown, Dragons.
Well, it wasn't quite a play-action fake, but the run fake handoff was just enough to freeze the backside safety. Touchdown, Pekin, and a great drawn-up fly route.
Scott Jordan's favorite target comes through, and the Dragons snag the lead in the second quarter. And that's where the advantage of having a guy like Kanye Tyler comes in.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Larry. Tyler in the backfield, you don't even have to fake the ball to him. All the linebackers and corners are staring down Tyler. And on the backside safety, it's all up to them to try and keep everything in front, and that's a tall order to ask at the high school level.
Miley Hansen boots it through the uprights. The girl kicker for the Dragons coming through. She has been phenomenal, and nothing short of that. We've got an injured Lancer down after that kick block attempt. So we'll try to get a number on him, but we hope he's all right. And how about Miley Hansen? Now for 4 for 4 on extra points, filling in for Pekin's normal kicker, who is injured. I've heard he may return next week, but now perhaps a battle for that kicker position, as Hansen has done a really phenomenal job.
It's hard to argue with 4 for 4, Larry, and I mean, performance speaks for itself. You got to keep playing and give them a reason to try and take you out of that starting spot, but she has been phenomenal and lights out, like you said, Larry, through 1 week of action, and coming into today, still very on a hot streak with their first PAT of the night.
Please come to the press box.
Seven to 3 Pekin. Thanks for joining us on the Clutch Sports Media Game of the Week. Non-conference battle between big school opponents. The Lancers, an 8A school, enrollment well over 2,000. Pekin, the largest school in the greater Peoria area in the 7A class.
Carl Collins deep.
Well, Larry, now becomes the chess match. If you're Belleville East, you ate up so much clock in that first quarter. Are you looking to do the same here with 11:07 to go in quarter 2 and take it into half? We know Pekin will get the ball to start the second half.
Hansen with a pop-up kick, fair caught at the 40 by Belleville East. A similar play that we saw to the opening kickoff, so another relatively short field for the Lancers. That was Jaden Hardy with the reception of sorts.
Belleville East will start at their own 39.
Coming out, if I'm Belleville East, that first start of the game, first couple handoffs didn't net much, but we saw once they were able to stretch it to sideline and get a little momentum going, I'd look for them to try and get back to that here and establish the passing game off of that.
Lancers huddled up. Braylon Grayson, the quarterback again. We've yet to see DJ Melender, the second quarterback for Belleville East. There's the give to Trimble up the middle, spins past the line of scrimmage, and stumbles down for a gain of 2.
Yeah, once more, just establishing that inside ground game, see who will bend and who will break out of that front four, and so far the answer is nobody from Pekin.
Mosey Trimble on the stop for the Dragons, number 8.
It's all about that battle in the trenches. That's what head coach Mike Harrison said for Belleville East. He said, really, it's football 101 for us. It's blocking and tackling, and we've just got to block better. Trimble in the backfield again. Man in motion is Walker. Quarterback option flipped outside to Walker, and he hits the deck. Looked like he slipped on the real grass surface. A broken play there for a loss.
Yeah, and that play was kind of discombobulated from the start. The motion man coming around to receive the pitch didn't have a lot of room to operate. He was almost shoulder to shoulder with his quarterback when that pitch came to him. A great job by the Pekin defense throwing bodies in there and disrupting the play.
That Dragons front four coming through again. Chase Rhodes, Dawson Reese in the middle of that play.
Last time on 3rd down and long, Larry, we saw a quick slant and a button hook, back-to-back plays. We'll see if they dial up something similar here.
Man in motion is Walker yet again. Flags fly. False start on Belleville East.
We'll have to keep an eye on that, Larry. They sent the man in motion, ran a 5-yard out route towards us here on the near boundary with the other wide receiver, the X, running a straight fly. That's designed to suck in the safety, and your X receiver hopefully gains a step on that movement, and that's when you hit him over the top.
So many flags against Belleville East, especially on the offensive side of things. All things considered, they've played through that very, very well, but they've got to cut down on those if they want to win this game on the road.
Yeah, and again, that's something we said earlier. They have to find a way to get back to the fundamentals and play clean, keep the laundry off the field football.
Grayson out of the gun. Here comes Trimble again, trying to get a push from his front 5, and he stays up. He twisted out of that tackle, got back to the original 1st down marker, but it's still going to be 4th and long. And we'll see where the officials spot the ball. They did not blow the play dead. There's a flag down.
Yeah, that play would have been great, Larry, if it would have been 3rd down and 10. It would have set them up with a 4th down and 4, 4th down and 3, but instead their penalty set them back to where it's now just essentially 4th down and 9.
That's a personal foul against the Lancers. That will set them back a great amount. The sticks say 3rd down, but really this should be 4th down.
Personal foul will put the ball back at the 23-yard line. 3rd down.
Well, Larry, we said it earlier. It's 4th down into Country Mile, and I don't anticipate them running with it here.
Now the officials signal correctly 4th down. And the officials are having some confusion as to what down it is. It should be 4th down. Belleville East should not get that down back after a personal foul, and the error is corrected.
Yeah, that's
Kanye Tyler among the receivers back deep.
Yeah, a personal foul is a dead ball penalty, meaning the play that was ran prior to it still stands. The yardage is tacked on after.
Walker with a high punt that bounces at the 45 and rolls out of bounds at the just about the 35 of the Pekin Dragons. They hold a 2nd quarter lead, 7-3, thanks to a touchdown pass and catch out of the hand of Scott Jordan to his junior teammate, Bo Benassi. 8:47 left in the 1st half. And Cody, what type of tempo are you expecting out of the Dragons here?
Very methodical. They want to get into the right play for them because they know with this offensive line, if they execute correctly, Belleville at least can do almost nothing to stop it unless they're going to throw extra bodies at the ball, which opens up play action. But I expect Kanye Tyler to have more than enough touches on this drive. We'll see him dip maybe 1, 2 more deep into the backfield. Maybe we'll see another shot over the top once they get him sucked in.
Tyler in the backfield. Bo Benassi with the touchdown reception for the Dragons at the bottom of the screen. It's a jet sweep. Hart on the give, eludes a tackle in the backfield and gets to the 40.
Good-looking jet sweep action that time. They're able to get the lead blockers out in front. That left-footed step is the big thing there and the key for the offensive lineman. Step with your right foot, you're going to miscount the line and shoot a gap for a defensive player. That time, able to get to the edge, get about half of what you needed, call it 2nd down and 6.
That clock remains running. Here's the give to Tyler on the sweep. He's got room to the outside. He's got blockers past the sticks and stumbles down at midfield.
And if you run that back, Larry, he had 2 lead blockers running untouched with nobody to block, 8 yards down the field. Belleville East has got to find a way to get a hat to the ball carrier.
And that's on that secondary unit. That front 3 for Belleville East might be their best unit. Anthony Cunningham, a Power 5 recruit, offers from Minnesota and Iowa State, but we really have not called his name much tonight. Another jet sweep action and a give to Tyler up the gut, and he is stuffed. Met by guess who? Anthony Cunningham, but a flag flies.
Wasn't that a beautiful play that time out of that nose guard spot for Cunningham? Takes on the block, disengages, and still gets the tackle for himself.
Anthony Cunningham.
That's a holding call on the Dragons. So little to no gain on the play, and then they get moved back 10 yards.
And it's got to start somewhere for Belleville East on the defensive side, Larry, so why not here? You now have Pekin back in first down and 20, well behind the sticks. You got a shot to corral to the ball carrier. The ground game's not necessarily out of their playbook here, but it's definitely not advantageous.
First and 20 for Scott Jordan and company. Fake give, swing to the outside. Dominic Brown with a lot of space, and he is upended. A great tackle by DeAndre Clark Jr.
And Clark Jr. did a great job. I'm not sure if you saw it here on the near side, Larry. He was able to get blocked at the start, disengage, slip down, and a one-on-one open field tackle. That'll make your defensive coordinator very happy.
We'll see what the call is, and it's holding again on Pekin, back-to-back holding calls. So it's going to be first down and 30. We'll see if Belleville East declines, and they do. That's probably logical.
Yeah, I mean, there becomes a point where yardage is just yardage, and you'd either eat the short down and make them play it again from a longer down in distance. We'll see if Pekin gets either back to the ground game here, or if they're going to try and once again work one-on-one coverage with one of their wide receivers.
Levi Burke at the top of the screen. Tanner Sprecher in the backfield next to Scott Jordan. Man in motion, fake jet sweep, and Sprecher's lit up in the backfield. Cunningham all over it.
What a play that time by the Belleville East front three. They came through almost untouched. Able to gobble up the ball carrier in the backfield. Belleville East had 4 in the box that time, Larry.
Correction on that tackle. It was O.J. Mosley rather than Cunningham. Mosley having one heck of a second quarter in a close ball game. Pekin burns a timeout. Probably a good call, and we'll get to that in a moment. But we do want to take this moment to remind you that tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Zach Butler State Farm here in Pekin, Illinois. For all your insurance needs, call 309-347-3115 or visit sfbutler.com. Again, that's 309-347-3115 or sfbutler.com for Zach Butler here in Pekin, your good neighbor. 7:16 remain in the first half of action. In case you're just joining us, the difference so far, a touchdown pass from Scott Jordan to Bo Benassi with 11:07 remaining in the second quarter. What do you think the message was in that huddle for head coach Doug Nutter?
We got to get back to basics. We know we have the better offensive line, and right now we're getting beat by a 3-man front.
Jordan drops back to pass, in the pocket, looking long, and he overthrew his man. Broken up back deep by Cale Walker. And so now it's 4th and 22.
Yeah, third down and forever is a tough down and distance to try and convert, Larry, but that time Cale Walker able to get his pop in the air. He had a defender behind him, so great communication knowing where his help would have been had the catch been made. I still think he might have been just short of the sticks. However, it's 4th down, and we will see the punt unit come on.
The man back deep to return looks like Trimble. The punt just barely gets off, nearly blocked. The punt bounces and now rolls. And a diving attempt made by a Pekin gunner to keep that ball in play. It's still rolled out of bounds. And again, favorable field position for Belleville East. We'll see if they can capitalize and regain the lead.
Yeah, we saw their defense bow their necks and get them the ball back, and this time we're going to see if their offense can find an answer for this front four. Excuse me, I shouldn't say front four, but the defensive line 4 wide for Pekin. They so far have stymied the run game. We take a look at their rushing statistics here. Right now, Trimble averaging just 1.3 yards per carry.
Just 12 total yards for Trimble. Quarterback out of the shotgun. It's still Braylon Grayson in the handoff up the gut to Trimble. getting pushed backwards, still on his feet. He slipped out of the pile, but the play is blown dead.
Ball carrier Trimble.
Yeah, I'd mentioned it earlier, these 1 and 2 yard carries, the long play here is they're hoping that that offensive line will wear down the defensive line of Pekin, and those will eventually open up into 3 and 4 yard carries. That's where you're able to work in your play fakes, your draw plays, and your screen passes when you get the defensive front 7 committing up the field. Instead, it just hasn't happened yet.
Not a lot of openings. Pekin's defenses stood tough after that first drive. Trimble on the carry, and he's wrapped up. Braden Hoover, the linebacker, came in to the line of scrimmage and wrapped him up.
It's so hard to convert 3rd down and long against this athletic Pekin defense, Larry. They're going to have to find a way to either get a switch combination on the outside with one man running in and one man running out and try and pull the safety one way or the other in the passing game, or try and find a way to get some lead blockers out in front for Trimble. So far, just nothing doing.
Braylon Grayson, the sophomore quarterback, gets the play call from the sideline and head coach Mike Harrison. Man in motion is Butler, fake jet sweep, and now Grayson's looking long, nowhere near Cannon Walker, the intended receiver.
Yeah, we mentioned that they got the one-on-one coverage they wanted here on the near side of the field, but instead just a poor effort on the throw. Wide receiver had the inside leverage, but overthrows him. Instead be 4th down, Larry, and we got to expect that they'll try and keep it away from the 2 dangerous punt returners.
Kanye Tyler, Levi Burke, the 2 back deep to return. Actually back there it looks like Elijah Hart with Tyler. Walker will do the punting, and he boots it away. The punt hauled in by Hart, looking for some blocks, slips a tackle. He's to the 45. He could bust a long one past the 50. Flag flies before he's dropped at the 45. This one's probably coming back.
Yeah, it looked like right before he tried to make his first cut upfield, there may have been a block from behind or a block in the side, which obviously you can't do at the high school, college, or pro level. So either way, it'd be coming back, and it looked like one of the Dragons may have caught one right in the nameplate on the return.
Hart is shaken up. Head coach Doug Nutter out to check on him. Both teams will retreat back to the sideline. It's a block in the back, indeed, Cody Roskins. So that brings Pekin back a long ways with 5:18 remaining in the first half. But that's kind of been the theme for Pekin, is their athletes have just simply looked better than Belleville East.
Yeah, and that's, again, not knocking Belleville East. It's just Pekin has some absolute stars out there in the skill position areas. We've mentioned the backfield. Their wide receivers have been solid tonight in the crisp routes that they've ran. It's just so tough. If you're Belleville East, it's a really pick-your-poison type effort. Do you try and crowd the box and stop Tyler and these explosive running backs, or do you play back and maybe let them get those 5 4-yard carries here and there and try and protect your back end over the top with the defensive backs? It's just so hard to find an answer to that. And so far, I think Belleville East found that nice balance. But Pekin, however, on this, their 3rd drive coming out, they stalled out last time. They're going to have to find now an answer to the answer, so to speak.
Hart is helped to the bench, still working through a little bit of technical difficulties. Good to see our cameras back. Our team diligently working. Matt Harrington leading the technical charge tonight.
1st and 10 for the Dragons.
1st and 10 for Pekin.
They're going to go 5 wide receivers here, Larry.
There's a give on the end around to Tyler, looking for some space on the outside. He lowers his shoulder to get to the 30, but only a few yard pickup.
And do you think he likes finding contact, Larry, about a half a step from being out of bounds? Why not put the shoulder down, show the defense, no matter where you're at on the field, contact's coming for you?
Well, some may say the human body craves contact, and I think at least that can be said for Kanye Tyler.
We mentioned it earlier after he busted his first long run of the day, Larry. He just seems to always find a way to bounce off tacklers.
Another give to Tyler. Looking to the outside. He's got some blockers weaving in and out to the 40 to move the chains.
he has just looked so patient in the backfield. And I know it's so cliche to say. Everybody uses a Le'Veon Bell comparison for the ultimate patient running back in the backfield. But he just sets up his blockers so nicely that they're able to extend and get out front and open more natural running lanes on the sideline and in the middle. He's really a do-it-all back so far tonight.
The crowd is engaged here at Pekin Memorial Stadium tonight. Scott Jordan out of the gun. They give up the middle. That's Tanner Sprecher. He gets a push forward, still on his feet, to the outside and the sideline. He lowers the shoulder at the Belleville East 45.
Again, these running backs from the backfield of Pekin just find a way to pound out more yards after contact. The ultimate phrase, playing through the whistle. You want to play harder and harder and harder the more the defensive sides of the ball try and compose on you. Instead, he's able to find another 10 yards after that first initial contact.
Bo Benassi, the receiver at the bottom of your screen. Jordan in the pistol, the man in motion. And they give up the middle to Sprecher. He stumbles over a man. Theo Millis, the linebacker for the Lancers, with a tackle there after a gain of 5. Vickery with the carry rather than Sprecher.
And Millis did a great job that time. He was able to sit down in at about his 4.5-yard, 5-yard depth as a linebacker. His front three, his nose guards, and 2 ends were able to contain the gaps. He's able to come through and make a tackle.
Misdirection to Tyler, and he picks up a gain. 3rd and short coming up. What's the play call here, Cody Roskins?
Well, again, I feel like it's just how confident are you in your offensive line to get out and get hats on hats. And so far, I would say the answer to that would be very good. So I would not be surprised in the slightest if they once again try to run that bounce play to the outside, a sweep look where they pull 2 guards. If it's not that, Larry, I'd look for a quick pass, something simple, not too complicated.
3rd down for the Dragons.
Jordan with a hard count.
And here you see the second look. They have a 2-play call system here. The kill, kill, kill count that lets the offensive line know what play it is.
Jordan to pass, over the middle, complete. 1st down for the Dragons. Dominic Brown, the 5'7" junior, hauls it in.
Yeah, and so Pekin that time was able to go no huddle, look to the sideline, and see what play call they wanted. They didn't like the initial play call they made, so the kill, kill, kill call goes out. Offensive coordinators and head coach able to ring it in, and it's another short pass and another 1st down for the Dragons.
A good read from the junior quarterback, Scott Jordan. The Dragons spread out here. Jordan again looking to pass. It's tipped at the line. A good play. O.J. Mosley got his paws on that one.
And right now, Pekin's living up to what they told you earlier this week, Larry. They're taking what the defense is giving them. These corners are lining up 8-9 yards off the wide receivers, so they're just running 6- and 7-yard routes and seeing if they can't get a quick connection.
Dragons looking to the sideline. Offensive coordinator Zach Williams calling out commands to the quarterback, Jordan. Man in motion is Brown. The give is up the middle to Tyler. He slips a man, slips another, stays on his feet somehow, and dances out of bounds past the 20.
Yeah, and almost a late hit out of bounds that time by the Belleville East defense. But Tyler, again, we've said it over and over in this first half, just keeps the legs moving. And he has looked very strong in this opening half, Larry. I'm not sure what's more impressive, him or his offensive line tonight.
I'll take C, all of the above.
C was always, what's that cliche? If you didn't know the answer, you always take C on the test.
I would say so. I think that would be a safe answer tonight. Pekin's guys up front have been absolutely fantastic. The Dragons putting together another drive. Timeout taken here. This one from Belleville East. They're huddled up there, as you can see on your screen. And we'll step aside briefly to remind you that tonight's Clutch Sports Media Game of the Week is brought to you by Zach Butler State Farm here in Pekin. Visit sfbutler.com or call 309-347-3115 for all your insurance needs. It's your good neighbor in State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Zach Butler, proud sponsor of Clutch Sports Media tonight.
Just a quick note, Larry. We mentioned last week how Tyler averaged almost 10 yards a carry a week ago. He's up around 8.4 this week and already 84 yards by himself on the ground. He's looked very strong, and this backfield has looked lethal tonight.
Tanner Sprecher also out of the backfield, 5 carries, 24 yards. Productive. Here's Tyler again with a gap up the middle and tumbles through the linebacking core of Belleville East. Jaden Hardy and Theo Millis combining for the tackle there.
Yeah, that time Belleville East did a better job. Their 3 front defensive linemen able to hold their gaps. Anthony Cunningham able to squeeze down gaps as well. I really like how Belleville East's front 3 have held up against what essentially has been a 7-man offensive line for Pekin.
Jordan in the pistol. Here's who but Kanye Tyler slips a tackle, nearly gets to the 5. Elite center of gravity for Kanye Tyler. And the chains are moving. It's goal to go.
And he just has that quick twitch about him, doesn't he, Larry? He just seems to find a way and make a decision so quickly in the backfield, whether he's going up, over, around, or side to side. He seems to make a decision to make it quick.
Kanye Tyler, Scott Jordan in the backfield looking to the sideline for the play call. Under a minute to go.
First down, Pekin.
Tyler to the outside, stopped at the 5. Good tackle by Chris Mueller.
It'll be 2nd and goal from the 5.
And I know he won't get credit for the tackle, Larry, but Anthony Cunningham did a great job of forcing that ball into where his linebackers were. He did a great job shoving down the gap. He came through almost untouched initially, but able to force the ball to where it wasn't supposed to go for the offense. Just 30.4 seconds left to go here in half number 1.
The Dragons burn their second timeout. 7-3 in favor of Pekin over Belleville East. Here on CliffSportsIL.com. Thanks for spending your Friday night with us. Special thanks to all the folks in Belleville tuned in. Didn't make the 2.5-hour trip. And heck, I don't blame them. That's a long car ride. You ever been to Belleville, Cody?
I can't say that I have, Larry. I've definitely been to the St. Louis greater area more than once in my lifetime, but I imagine we floated on past it once or twice on our trip downs to Arch Madness and such. So.
Yes.
We'll shoot him a wave hello when we go down there this coming basketball season as well.
I can say I have been to Belleville. Great place.
How are the roads, Larry? We noticed that the roads on the drive up today in Pekin, a little rocky, so to speak.
Oh, we won't talk about the roads are pretty good down there.
Okay.
Especially the expressways, good condition.
Down,
Pekin out of the timeout. Jordan in the gun. Tyler to the outside, looking for space, dances to the pylon, in for 6.
We've seen that play a couple times tonight, Larry. We're able to just get a couple guards out in front and let Mr. Tyler do all the work. Setting up his blocks beautifully, finds the pylon and puts it to bed. What more can you say?
Second touchdown of the season for Kanye Tyler. Second touchdown of the night for the Pekin Dragons. Miley Hansen out for the extra point. She's 4 for 4. So far. The hold is down, the kick is through the uprights, and the elite soccer player Miley Hansen comes through once more.
And that was the exact drive Pekin would want. We know they're getting the ball to start the second half action, so with just 23.5 seconds to go here in half number 1, them going up 14-3 and getting the ball back with their high potent offense. That's just a great 2-for-1 opportunity coming out of the first half here and entering the second half.
The only points tonight from Belleville East, a field goal after a long first quarter drive off the leg of Cannon Walker. That's with 3:23 remaining in the first quarter. Pekin has scored back-to-back touchdowns, and the Lancers could sure use a little bit of a spark before the halftime break. Even if it's not a score, they could sure use some positive momentum.
Yeah, not a lot to speak of so far for, Belleville, at least just the 32 total yards of offense after you take out the penalties. So not exactly a very motion-heavy offense so far in terms of motoring down the field. But like you said, Larry, one shot play could definitely change the complexion here of the first half and hopefully the second half.
Miley Hansen, the kickoff.
Hansen the boot. Popped up past the 50, and the fair catch is made. Once again, for the second time tonight, Jaden Hardy hauls in the kickoff. 22.5 seconds remain here in the first half. Started as a slow and methodical contest, but every time Pekin has had the ball, at least their last 2 times, they have marched down the field pretty quickly. We'll see if the Lancers can do anything before the half.
They have one-on-one here in the slot area with a safety over the top of the slot wide receiver. If they're going to take a shot, maybe it comes from there.
Once again, Braylon Grayson, the quarterback out of the shotgun. It's Trimble with the carry to the outside. Short gain. That may do it for the first half. We'll see if head coach Mike Harrison elects for another play.
Ball carrier Mosley Trimble.
He will not. And that clock winds down, and that is it for the first half. Kanye Tyler with a touchdown carry to put an exclamation point on a big first half for the Pekin Dragons. It's 14-3 after 24 minutes of play. Cody, your big takeaways from that first half?
I think it's just been the lack of offense we've seen from Belleville East, not exactly moving the ball very effectively. And on the other side, I've been more than impressed so far with Pekin's offensive line and the way they've controlled the offensive line, moving it, getting 2 or 3 yards down the field before getting contact onto their running back. I think the Pekin defense is also a little stronger in the trenches, so to speak, and we said it both many times here in the first half. The trenches are where this game's going to be won or lost.
And I'm sure glad that we didn't jinx Kanye Tyler because we talked about him a lot in the pregame. He's got 14 carries for 100 yards and a touchdown, and that's only the first half.
Yeah, and like we said, they didn't touch the football for almost the entirety of the first quarter, so that could have easily been over 100 yards in that opening half. I think Kanye Tyler has looked more than excellent here in half number 1, and not to mention his backups haven't looked bad either. Tanner Spreck also sprinkled in 5 carries for 24 yards. He's up around 5 yards a carry. This offense is so efficient. It's a plug-and-play, so to speak, with their running backs in the backfield, and I imagine that we'll see a couple more plays to their wide receivers here in half number 2.
Head coach Doug Nutter's got to be happy, and we'll see what they can bring out of the halftime locker room. We're going to step aside for a brief break, come back with the first half recap and some scores from around the area. You're watching the game of the week on ClutchSportsIL.com. Pekin leads Belleville East 14-3. We are back here from Pekin Memorial Stadium. Thanks for joining us on the Clutch Sports Media Halftime Show. Game of the week for you. Pekin leads Belleville East 14-3. Back-to-back touchdown scores from the Dragons. First, a touchdown pass from Scotty Jordan to Bo Benassi with 11:07 remaining in the second quarter. And then with 23 seconds left in the half, Kanye Tyler dashes home for a 5-yard score. And that's where we're at right now. The lone score for Belleville East, a field goal in the first quarter by Cannon Walker. What do you say we take a look at some scores from around the area? Gavin Russell hard at work searching the Twitterverse and the internets, if you will, looking for some halftime scores, and we've got a few. St. Francis Wheaton beating Peoria High 14-6 at halftime. Morton losing to Galesburg in a tight one, 14-13 at halftime. Rock Island is beating Dunlap 12-7 at the half. Marengo on top of Canton, and a very spread out geographic matchup there in Marengo, 19-14. Marengo over Canton at the half, and Metamora 6, LaSalle Peru nothing in the second quarter. And then last but not least, a game that a lot of people have their eyes on today, Kankakee beating Washington in Washington 14-0 in the second quarter. Two ranked schools in 6A there. Definitely a fun matchup to watch. But the K's on top of the Panthers, who are ranked third in 6A right now. And of course here in Pekin, it's 14-3 Dragons over the Lancers. Thanks for joining us at halftime. We're going to step aside for one more break, come back with a first half recap, some stats, and then the second half of action. Stay tuned. We're back for the second half on ClutchSportsIL.com. Larry Larson and Cody Roskins in with you for the CSM Game of the Week between the Pekin Dragons and Belleville East Lancers. As you can see at the bottom of your screen, Dragons leading it 14-3 after 24 minutes of play. And Cody, the big takeaway, at least in my eyes from the first half, was how dominant Pekin's offensive line was. It didn't really matter who was carrying the ball. They looked really good because of that front five. And then on the other side of the ball, Pekin's defensive line also having a great game. So Pekin has really controlled the battle in the trenches.
Yeah, and that was the ultimate key to the game for us today, was which side of the ball for which team was going to win the most. And so far, the answer has been Pekin on both sides. I think if you're Pekin, you really like you said, having that offensive line get 2 or 3 yards down the field and get hats on the linebackers. We saw it a couple times where they'd have pulling guards, which typically get stood up about 3 or 4 yards down the field. They were going untouched 8, 7 yards down the field, and with Kanye Tyler's ability to break tackles, that was just a recipe for double-digit runs for Pekin. And on the other side for Belleville East, to try and counter that, they're only sticking with 3 defensive linemen. So you don't expect those 3 different defensive linemen to win necessarily their one-on-one or one-on-2 blocking matchups, but their job is to eat up those blocks so their linebackers and corners can flood to the ball. And so far, that just hasn't been the case for Belleville East, as they just haven't been able to secure a tackle.
Some players that have stuck out, obviously, from the first half. Kanye Tyler, 100 yards, 1 TD, 14 carries on the ground. And Belleville East's main back, Moise Trimble, has really kind of struggled to get going. So keys to the second half for you, Cody, outside of that battle in the trenches, perhaps.
Yeah, if you're Belleville East, it starts with spreading out the defense. We know that you like to run the spread. We've seen a couple of times with the 4 wide receivers, the jet motions and such. You got to try and take a page out of Pekin's playbook, so to speak. Take what the defense is giving you. So far, we've mainly seen them take shot plays down the field, and that's not really their game from what I could see. They're really built to win within the tackles. But on the outside of that, you have to have guys that can make a man miss. I feel like they've got a couple guys on the outside that could make a catch or two, and we saw that on their opening drive where they were able to come through in traffic and convert for first downs. And I think it starts, you have to spread out that defense so that way that offensive line has a chance to get down the field, because we touched on it earlier. Their coach wants them to be better at blocking. It's so hard to do that with a crowded box.
It absolutely is, and Pekin has really dominated every facet of the game in terms of the box. You know, blocking, tackling on the other side of the football. And we'll see if that changes in the second half. It really has to if Belleville East wants to come back in this ball game. The Lancers will kick off to the Dragons. They deferred their coin toss. So they've got a chance to really break this game open with a successful drive to start the second half. Cannon Walker will swing the leg and send the ball away. Kanye Tyler and Levi Burke back deep to return. It would not surprise me if the ball doesn't get to either one of those fellas. We're underway in the second half with a squibber. It takes a bounce and it's fielded by Burke. He looks for some blocks, splits down the middle, and he picks up a nice return out past the 35.
This will be a very telling drive here, Larry, to open up the second half. What adjustments does Belleville East make in terms of fitting gaps in the run game? We saw early on that they're sticking with that 3-man front on the defense with a couple of linebackers stacking up behind to try and flood to the ball. Let's see if they maybe shift to a 4-3 look, or maybe even just try and stick to that 5-2 nickel type look.
Ball is marked on the 37-yard line. It'll be 1st and 10 for the Dragons.
1st and 10 from their own 37 for Pekin. Scott Jordan, the junior quarterback, leading his squad onto the field. Miles Bridgman, the center, standing at 6'4", 370 pounds, stands over the ball. Jordan fakes to Tyler, looks out right, chased out of the pocket, risky throw, and Burke couldn't haul it in.
No, but a great job by Belleville, at least able to get up the field with their defensive linemen, force pressure into the face of the quarterback. They tried an off-balance throw, and you and I both know throwing off your back foot late towards the sideline, that's a recipe for an interception.
Was a very risky throw, and that's kind of where that inexperience of Jordan comes in. Just a first-year starter at the varsity level. He's played the last 2 seasons as the starting quarterback for the sophomore team for Pekin. He's with Kanye Tyler, his junior teammate, in the backfield. Here is Kanye Tyler to the outside with space. Searching for a block. Burke gives it to him, and he dances on the sideline past midfield.
And another double-digit carry that time for Kanye Tyler. This offensive line's done a great job of just getting him in position to succeed, taking care of that front 7. And I think they really like their chances with Kanye Tyler one-on-one with a defensive back.
Pekin continuing to dominate, picking right up where they left off from the first half.
Let's see if these safeties, Larry, try and crowd the box a little bit and try and get mixed up in this run game.
Here's Tyler up the middle with space. Past the 40. He's off to the races. Can anybody catch him? They won't. Second touchdown of the night for Kanye Tyler, 20-3.
And we've harped on it time and time again. The Pekin offensive line just uprooting the front seven of Belleville East. And like you said, Larry, nobody's going to catch that man when he's off to the races.
It's hard to catch him in traffic, but it's even harder to catch him when there's nobody in front of him. Miley Hansen out for the extra point.
Miley Hansen for the point after.
The sophomore place kicker looking to stay perfect on extra points this season. The hold from Jordan, the kick deflected at the line it looked like, but it still sneaks over the crossbar. It's 21-3 Dragons.
It's the Dragons 21, the Lancers 3.
Have a night, Pekin offensive line and Kanye Tyler. It's really the same storyline as last week, Cody, that front five opens up a lot of space for Tyler, and when he's got space, he's hard to catch.
Yeah, he's so hard to bring down. I touched on it in that first half. He has that quick twitch ability, and we saw it that previous run to the sideline where he was able just to bob and weave out of traffic without getting touched, and it ended up being an almost 20-yard carry. And that time, you just see the straight-ahead speed. He can turn it off and on so quickly. It's so hard for the defensive linebackers and back-end defenders to try and make a tackle.
Belleville East desperately needs a response to stay in this ball game. They have not scored since the first quarter. They had a productive opening drive, but their offense has not done anything since. Hansen ready to send it away. And she sends it deep. Fielded at the 20. Bounces to the outside, and this guy's off to the races. Big return possible, and he's shoved out of bounds deep in Dragons territory. A big return from Willie Butler. But there's a flag on the play, and it's against Belleville East. This one's coming back, Cody.
Story of the night for Belleville East. They'll make a big play and then have it called back for a penalty, but sooner or later you got to feel like at some point in the season this offense is just going to find it, and they're going to turn it on, and whoever they play that night I feel very sorry for, because this offense, we've seen it at times tonight, has been explosive with the chances they've had down the field. And here you see it with the special teams unit. It's just the little things that we wanted to see them try and clean up. It continues to cost them here in week 2.
Penalty after penalty after penalty, it seems, for Belleville East, especially in that first quarter. That really good first drive they had could have been even better if there were a few less false starts, holding calls, little ticky-tack mistakes cost the Lancers, and they cost them to start the second half here.
And I've got a question for you, Larry. Covering up the stats for anybody at home wondering, who do you think, or what do you think has more yardage currently, the Belleville East penalty yardage category or their offensive total yardage category?
I'd say penalty yardage.
It's 35-34 in favor of the penalties.
Oof. Well, neither of those numbers is ideal. Don't need to be a football savant like Cody here to know that. 1st and 10 from the Lancer 13-yard line. DJ Melender, the quarterback in the game for the first time. The sophomore standing at 6'1", about 200 pounds. Here's a jet sweep. Julian Bennett with some room to the outside. He gets to the 20.
It looks like a little extracurricular activity again, Larry. Both these teams coming out of locker rooms pretty fired up.
It did get a little chippy in the first half, and that has since carried over. Hey, it's week 2. The frustration is building for Belleville East. Pekin is riding high. Great week 1. They have been dominant here in week 2 as well.
But a solid start, though, on first down, Larry, as we get back to the previous play. A great opening drive play. Able to get to the sideline, put him in a great second down yardage situation.
Moise Trimble, the back, position next to Melender. Fake to Trimble, pass outside, well too short.
And that's one you'd like to have back. Again, they run that double slant concept, kind of an RPO type look where they'll fake the handoff or he could hand it off. They still have the pass over the backside. You like the look, sucks in the linebackers, and they had one-on-one with the safety, just unable to hook up.
Last week, in week 1, Melender had 71 yards and tossed an interception. Overall, he was 7 for 15 passing. 3rd and short. Melender fakes a give to Trimble, tosses outside. This time it's complete, and a stiff arm, and the man's off to the races. Kanye Tyler catches up and bumps him out of bounds past midfield.
And that looked like almost the exact same play that they had ran the previous down, Larry. Again, they go with that double slant concept, finally able to hit the backside wide receiver. A little catch and run action for you. Like we said, Belleville East, for the first time tonight, is really on the move.
Dixon with another target and good reception there. He's busted a few long plays tonight. Lancers in search of a response.
They're going to have one-on-one coverage here, Larry.
We'll see if it pays off. Walker on the fake jet sweep, and Melender looks long, overthrew his man.
And if you run that back, Larry, Julian Bennett was running wide open down the seam. I'm not sure if it was a case of an overthrow, if he still wanted the wide receiver to the far boundary, but you have to think that's 6 points off the board. If you're Belleville East, he was wide open.
That's a tough miss, but one you may expect from a sophomore quarterback. The game is still fast for him, so to speak. Of course, that term, the game slows down for you as you get more reps. Both Braylon Grayson and DJ Melender, the two quarterbacks for the Lancers, just sophomores. Trimble in motion to the right of Melender. Fake to Trimble. Throw over the middle, dropped by Kerry Martin.
Yeah, and that time, again, a quick slant concept, but they had a man running underneath for a shallow route, which takes away, again, that interior linebacker. But the throw was a little behind. That's tough to bring in for a wide receiver. And they got it in 3rd down and 10, but I like the aggressive pass play calling so far for Belleville East to open up the second half.
It has suited them well, and their first drive of the game, and now their first drive of the second half, all things considered, have looked pretty good, and I think it has to do everything with their passing game.
Yeah, and maybe that's what they work on going forward. They have great athletes in space.
Melender with a man in motion. It's Willie Butler. Melender looking long. Down the sideline. It's through the hands of Jaden Hardy.
And that time it was Carl Collins running down the seam wide open. They ran the same play, just flipped it on the side of the field. And so maybe as they go to the sideline here, the coaching staff says, hey, maybe we look off that far wide receiver on the sideline, because that's now back-to-back times on this drive. 2 out of the last 3 plays where they've had a man running wide open down the seam.
And that time, that was a great throw by Melender. It literally fell right through the breadbasket of Jaden Hardy.
Yeah, much improved throw from the last time we saw it. Like you said, though, you just got to hope your wide receivers can help out your quarterback and bring one in for him.
Lancers forced to punt. Walker sends it away. Burke with a risky catch, and he falls forward short of the 25-yard line. And we'll take this break to remind you that tonight's presentation of Pekin football is brought to you by Zach Butler State Farm here in Pekin. For all your insurance needs, call 309-347-3115 or visit sfbutler.com. It's Zach Butler, your good neighbor here in Pekin. Thanks to Zach for his support of high school sports. His hometown Dragons doing a pretty darn good job tonight. Kanye Tyler with 2 touchdowns on the ground. 163 yards. Only a few big rushes away from surpassing 200 back-to-back weeks to start the season. Scott Jordan. The give, it's Vicari. The fullback is swallowed up by the Belleville East linebacking core. For progress, we'll give him a gain of 3.
In on the stop, John Underwood for the Lancers.
Clock running, 9:30 to go in the 3rd quarter. Non-conference matchup between 2 big schools, Belleville East 8A and Pekin 7A, the largest school in the Middle Illini Conference.
Looks like Belleville East will crowd the box a little bit more here.
Here's a jet sweep. Hart looking for space, and he's wrapped up. That's Dominic Brown, but a flag does fly.
Great job by Brown that time to wrap up in the open field. They sent a couple bodies to blow up the lead blocking. Worked well. Just let's see who the penalty's on, and it will be on Pekin.
False start against the Dragons.
Jason Crawford is the lucky winner tonight.
Tanner Sprecher checks into the ball game. Victory is out as the 50-50 raffle ticket winner is announced. Cody, before the game, just below us, below the press box, we saw a guy who had so many 50-50 raffle tickets, he was wearing them like there were long necklaces around his shoulders. It was a spectacle.
Yeah, something tells me the 50-50 raffle for him was more like a 90-10 raffle for him when this was all said and done. He had more than his fair share.
Jordan swings it out wide. Dominic Brown near the sticks. Did he get there? We'll find out shortly, and he did. 1st and 10 Pekin.
And there you see a facet of this Pekin offense we really haven't had much need to see so far. They're able to fake the handoff, throw a quick bubble, and we forget how often with the greatness of Tyler out of the backfield and these other running backs, they've still got great wide receivers. So this catch and run game is very real for Pekin. It's just a matter of time if they play off that more down the season.
Tonight I'd estimate it's been as heavy as 70-30 in favor of run to pass for Pekin, when in all reality, I mean, they could even flip that if they really needed to. Fake jet sweep. Here's Tyler up the middle, slips through the line of scrimmage. That's a pickup of about 5.
With that last play, Larry, Pekin has eclipsed the 200 total yard mark of total offense. They've looked very strong considering to power on with that. We'll have to see how much that gets up to here later in the game, but just look at the differential between these two schools so far. It's not much of a contest.
If the trend holds, Pekin well on its way to a 2-0 start. Belleville East 0-1 entering tonight. Tyler searching for space outside. Gets a block to the 50, slips through a tackle. Gets another block as a flag flies. He's brought down at the 35.
And we have a flag on the play.
We'll see if this is coming back, but Kanye Tyler just continues to amaze.
Yeah, and you hate to penalize great downfield blocking at the high school level, but probably got caught with a little bit of the side.
Block in the back is indeed the call. And so the refs will pace it off. So a big run comes back for Tyler. But if the trends continue again, he'll probably have a few more of those tonight. And if you're East, you just got to find some sort of way to contain him. He's out of the ball game now, so no worrying there. Tanner Sprecher in the backfield.
And to play off that point, Larry, I think if you're Belleville East, you really got to pick your chances, try and bring some heat and get some tackles behind the line of scrimmage.
Here's Sprecher. Wide open space. And he falls forward to the 40-yard line.
Ball carrier Tanner Sprecher being stopped by John Underwood. And there's a flag.
John Underwood with the tackle. Some substitutions coming in and out. Both coaches probably digging into their benches a little bit. And we've got a flag on the play. Unsportsmanlike conduct on East.
Yeah, not exactly sure who the guilty party was there. It had to have been towards the late end of that play because that was a very late flag.
Pekin student section lets Belleville East have it. You can't do that.
Yeah, just a little friendly,
classic.
Just a friendly reminder to read the rule book a little bit before you go out and do something you can't do.
Play the hits. That's what student sections tend to do. Officials still discussing here. I think they're just making sure that they've got the guilty party because, of course, if there's 2 unsportsmanlike penalties in a game, then that player is disqualified. If that player picks up 2, that would be.
And as they march us off, they've got to give a quick shout out to the Fire Pit Nation down on the far side of the bleachers. They've shown out in force here tonight.
They have done a great job. You can find them on our Instagram page, on our Instagram story, at Clutch Sports Media. Shout out Francisco Alonso for grabbing that. Sprecher on the sweep. Gets past the tackle and fights back to the original line of scrimmage. He's still on his feet, fighting forward for a short gain. But Cody, got to be proud of the effort there.
Absolutely. I mean, he just keeps his head down and keeps the legs churning. A play that looked like it would have been for sure a couple yards in the backfield when it was all said and done, but instead he's able to turn a positive spin on it.
Gain of 2 yards.
Final score just across our desk from downtown Peoria, PND 58, Richwoods nothing. Joey Wright and John Camosa on the call there for the Friday night showcase. Apologies to them. 6:30 remain in the third quarter here in Pekin. Dragons beating Belleville East, trying to add on. Jordan stepping up, passes over the middle. It's hauled in by Levi Burke.
The old hold wide for aggressive catch deep in the secondary. Able to hang on for a big play there, and we've got goal to go.
Levi Burke, the senior standing at 6 foot, got up for that catch. That'll make the highlight reel. Cheerleaders tossing out foam footballs to the grandstand. The crowd is fired up tonight. And as this game goes on, the excitement continues to build, and I think that'll carry into next week for the Middle Illini opener for the Dragons. More on that later. Jordan, the give to Tyler. He could have walked into the end zone. He plows over a man in the end zone. 3 TDs for the junior back.
And we said earlier, you think he's looking for contact down near the goal line, Larry? Heck yeah, he is. Sends a man straight onto his back. And now Pekin opens up a 24-point advantage.
Tyler has the last 2 touchdowns in this game, last 3 touchdowns in this game. My goodness. Miley Hansen on for the extra point. And she sends it through. She remains perfect. Everything going right for the Pekin Dragons tonight.
Yeah, it's hard to find much wrong with Pekin's performance. Now you could argue that a silly penalty on the game's opening drive could be the lone fault with this team so far. They've looked solid in all aspects, a well-coached squad. I feel like this crowd can really sense how special of a team they've got this season.
And it's interesting because, of course, a lot of people talk about narratives in the Middle Illini Conference, and one of those is that Washington, always a contender, and they're expected to be again this year. Metamora, also always a contender. Dunlap has been a power as of late. You tend to forget about Pekin, but if they have a good group, considering that they're the biggest school in the conference, they are a force to be reckoned with, and it seems to be the perfect storm this year for head coach Doug Nutter. It's going to be a very, very competitive Mid-Illini Conference. We will bring you some Pekin action next week on the Friday night showcase on 101.1 ESPN Peoria. As Pekin opens the Mid-Illini slate against Dunlap at 7:30 p.m. That should be a great game. Hansen sends it away. The return goes to Butler again, searching for the sideline. He can't get there. Out past the Belleville East 30-yard line. And Cody, this has got to be dejecting if you're Belleville East. How do you come out after that defensive drive?
Well, you know, it's always tough, like you said, coming out after shorting another big score, but you really have to look at this game, Larry, like it's 0-0 and treat it as such and just execute from there on out and see where that puts you late in the game with a chance, hopefully, for your offense to go down, try and make it a ball game, but you really got to treat it like it's 0-0.
Hard count from the quarterback, Grayson. Braylon Grayson back into the ball game after Melender was the quarterback for the last drive, and the give is to Moise Trimble.
Number 44, Dawson Reese.
Dawson Reese on the tackle.
Last time we saw Belleville East open it up a little bit, Larry, with the passing game. This time they get back to the outside run game. That's how they started their last drive with the jet sweep. We'll see if that kind of follows the same rhythm here as they try and maybe air it out a little more.
2nd and 9 from their own 34. Grayson looks to the outside and hooks up with the receiver. Fighting for yardage near the sticks. He's going to get there. A really good effort from Julian Bennett for a first down. Jaden Hardy, excuse me, on the reception.
Yeah, big time catch. Just again, he's running that simple 8-yard hitch and curl route combination. Able to make the catch, fight for extra yards, and he may have given his team a fresh set of downs.
Face mask
That
against
he
the
did.
Dragons.
Face mask against Pekin. That'll tack on some yards. And that's one thing you can't do if you're Pekin, Cody, is let your foot off the gas and let your play get a little sloppy.
Yeah, you've got your foot on the jugular, and you got to keep it on there for the remainder of the game. I know it's early. Third quarters tend to kind of be where the game gets in a little bit of a haze for each team. You don't know if one's going to try and put the pedal down and try and roar, come back. You don't know if the other one's going to throw on their backup, so to speak. But, yeah, you always want to stay aggressive.
Trimble searching for space. He gets it on the outside, past the 40, and wrapped up short of the 35.
Ball carrier
And
dribble
now a
on the
Dragon
stop.
is down with an
Tanner
injury.
Sprecher. Officials timeout.
Looks like a bit of a cramp for Kanye Tyler. And immediately you saw his teammates start to wave to the sideline. You held your breath whenever you see that. But, Cody, we saw a lot of these last week.
Yeah, and me and you were off. Obviously, you were off at ESPN Radio doing the PND Metamora game, if I recall correctly. And Joey and I were off at IVC doing the Chillicothe, IVC, and PBL game. But, yeah, it was a hot, humid night, and not necessarily as hot and humid here today. The wind's kicking around a good amount, but still early season. The hydration may not quite be there as it will be later in the year. So he said that pre-hydration is what a lot of the coaches told us last week is almost just as important as game day hydration. So you got to look to see maybe later down in the season if that'll kind of be the case.
And, of course, it's a lot cooler tonight, as we'll take a look at the weather graphic. A lot cooler tonight than it was last week. Thankfully for both these teams, you saw the kickoff temperature 71 degrees, pretty breezy, chance of rain 20%. It was starting to spit a little bit of rain, but mostly that rain stayed away, thankfully. Kanye Tyler still down on the field. Not what you like to see if you're the Dragons, and you hope it's just a cramp. We won't speculate, but generally whenever you see a player, extend their leg all the way up and the trainers come out and try to stretch it out, that's a sign of a cramp at least.
It looks like he's got, just a little bit of that hanging limp to him. So, like you said, Larry, hopefully just a cramp. Hopefully we'll see him back in this ball game soon, but it's nice to see him walk off under his own power.
Slowly but surely making his way off as the drive continues for Belleville East after a long delay.
Second down and 4 for the
Just
Lancers.
under 4.5 minutes remain in the third quarter in Pekin. Big school non-conference matchup. Kanye Tyler responsible for the last 3 TDs in this one.
They'll have twins wide receivers to the near boundary here for maybe a quick pass here to the near sideline.
Jaden Hardy and Willie Butler. Butler now in motion. Fake give. The throw over the middle is caught by Dixon, and it's broken up.
Not necessarily a quick pass to the sideline, but they did fake a little bubble in the jet sweep action across the field. Tried to get the skinny post going, but in and out of the hands, and that's a tough break for Belleville East.
Another good throw by Braylon Grayson. The quarterback play tonight for Belleville East, all things considered, has been a bright spot. Maybe the stats won't show it, but the 2 sophomore quarterbacks, Braylon Grayson and DJ Melender, have made some nice throws.
Yeah, Grayson tonight, 8 of 10, 51 yards, 80% completion percentage. He's had a great night so far. It's just sometimes on the perimeters, wide receivers maybe having a tough grab or not being able to come down with one in traffic.
Trimble battles a linebacker through the first down marker, just short of the 30-yard line, and the drive will continue for the Lancers.
Sprecher making first contact on the stop.
Trimble and Tanner Sprecher coming together there.
First and 10 for the Lancers.
Trimble now checked out of the ball game. Luke Freepon, the junior running back, checked in for Trimble.
See if they try and stretch the field here again vertically. Larry, we said it on the last drive. They had a couple of guys run open down the seams. This from around the 30-yard lines where a lot of teams like to take their shots down the seam.
Grayson tosses outside. It's nearly jumped by Aiden Houston.
Number 11,
But
Aiden
instead, the
Houston
pass
breaking
just
up that
broken
pass
up.
play.
Great play from the junior cornerback, I should say.
Yeah, and they've ran that kind of curl spotting concept the last couple of times on their drives. That time, defensive backs able to close quickly and nearly jump it for an interception.
Grayson looking to the sideline for the play call. It's 2nd and 10 from the Pekin 30. Freepon still in the backfield.
And again, they're going to go with the kill, kill, kill. Much like Pekin did in that first half. They had 2 play calls. Now they're shifting to play number 2.
Here's Freepon. First carry of the night. He falls forward for a gain of 5, and a flag comes in.
A flag on the play.
Face mask on Pekin. Second of this drive.
Yeah, we're starting to see a little laundry fly in the direction of Pekin now after being fairly clean in that first half. A couple of back-breaking penalties, like you said, Larry, the second face mask. And this is only going to help try and fuel this Belleville East offense into gear.
Of course, the team that makes the fewest mistakes generally wins. Unforced errors, perhaps another way to put that. Any coach will tell you that, and I think Belleville East has made a few more unforced errors than Pekin tonight. But that tide perhaps starting to turn. Freepon switches to the other side of Grayson. Now back to the left. Freepon carries again, and he's met by a gang of red jerseys.
Couldn't quite catch the number that time. I think it was number 54, Chase Rhodes, was able to close in quickly for the Pekin defense, shuck the block, and able to penetrate into the backfield.
Chase Rhodes, number 74, Austin Pyro.
Austin Pyro, Chase Rhodes, among the parties on the stop there. Want to give a quick shout out to the PA announcer for Pekin. His name is Larry. Larry's got to stick together, man.
It's always good to have an extra Larry lying around.
Yes. It's not often, at least for me. Here's the give to Trimble back into the ball game. It's going to be real close to the sticks. We'll see what the call is. First down.
Running a little shotgun counter action. That's a very slow developing play. You're banking on the defensive lineman getting sucked up the field quickly. And you're really hoping your quarterback can get that handoff exchange off fairly quick. Get 2 pulling guards coming. Not a lot of room for error.
Clock still running. Now under 2 minutes in the third quarter of action. Jaden Hardy at the bottom of your screen. Trimble with the run again. Escapes the defensive line. Hurdles a man and falls forward for a gain of about 9.
I don't think that play was designed to bounce outside. It looked like the guard who had funnel ran off the right hip of the left guard tried to find space to work at the linebacker and turned around and realized that his ball carrier wasn't behind him. But a good adjustment that time by the Belleville East offensive line to find some work and get him some yardage.
Trimble, a man who's got high expectations for his junior season. And Coach Mike Harrison said he's one of the junior leaders on this team that is still relatively young. Here's Trimble again. Stiff arm, bounces to the outside. Gain of 1, if that.
I think they tried to come back at him with the exact same look. Had 2 guards in motion that time, trying to get to that far sideline. We have an injured Dragon, Larry.
Hard to tell who that is from our perspective. Another official's timeout. And Cody, you made an accurate remark a few moments ago talking about the third quarter, how the wheels kind of fall off the wagon, so to speak. For both teams, no matter who's winning or losing, it's when that fatigue hits, despite that halftime break. And I think we're starting to see that for Pekin, not only with the penalties, but now with some injuries.
Yeah, it's for sure, as we've seen, a couple of bodies having to go down and get treatment so far on this drive for Pekin, that the mental edge is also trying very hard on the Pekin defensive side as well. We've seen a couple of face mask penalties. Now we've also seen a couple of bodies go down for maybe, we hope, is cramps. On the offensive side, Belleville East not necessarily looking more fit in this situation, but a lot more composed than we saw them in the first half. So maybe the wheel's not necessarily falling off the wagons, but for Belleville East, maybe it's putting them back on, and now they've got them screwed on correctly. And we've seen their offense move the ball fairly efficiently on this drive.
Well, I'll use a metaphor that you sort of brought on earlier. The road is getting a little bumpier here for Pekin. Good to see Connor Drowns up and walking to the sideline under his own power. Score update for you from Washington. Kankakee 21, Panthers 14 at the end of the third quarter. Great game there in Washington. We thank you for joining us here in Pekin tonight. Clutch Sports Media Game of the Week brought to you by Zach Butler State Farm here in Pekin. Third and short coming up for the Lancers.
This will probably be 4-down territory as well, Larry. A field goal here doesn't do you much good.
The give up the middle to Freepont. Looking for space outside, and he's got none. Braden Beckham there with a few teammates.
Yeah, a whole host of red jerseys in the Red Sea, so to speak, did not part that time for the Pekin defense. Able to swallow up the running back at the line of scrimmage. Not a lot of work to be found, and we've seen some better improvements in the second half from the first half when it comes to the Belleville East front on, offensive line and tight ends getting downfield. Still some work to be done, however.
PA announcer prompts the crowd to make some noise. 4th and 2, under 20 seconds remaining in the third quarter. And a timeout is called by Belleville East. That's their first timeout taken here in the second half. And we will take this break to remind you that tonight's presentation of Clutch Sports Media is brought to you by Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. For all your insurance needs, call 309-347-3115 or visit sfbutler.com. Auto, home, life, insurance, you name it, Zach Butler's got you covered. Again, call 309-347-3115 or visit sfbutler.com. Zach Butler, your good neighbor in Pekin. We thank Zach Butler for his continued support of high school sports in Central Illinois. And we thank you for spending your Friday night with us. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss another game of great football action around Central Illinois. Got some great games coming up for you next week. Be sure to follow us on social media as well for updates there. Out of the timeout, 4th and 2 for Belleville East. Trimble bounces to the outside, stiff arms a man, and he can't get to the chains. Pekin's defense rises to the occasion.
And again, Belleville East is trying to work that inside run game between the guards and tackles. Like you said, looks like we have a flag, Larry. And another Dragon is down.
Officials timeout on the field.
Officials timeout again.
And that was a block in the back on Belleville East. That penalty will be declined because it would be a turnover on downs, but looks like the officials will take another injury timeout.
I failed to mention a few moments ago for Pekin fans to take a sigh of relief as Kanye Tyler checked back into the ball game.
It is declined by the Dragons. They will take
And this may be
down.
Kanye Tyler who's down here.
It will be first down, Pekin.
It is indeed. Now he's up on his feet. Good to see that. But the penalty is declined by Pekin, so it's a turnover on downs. And the Dragons will take over just past their own 10-yard line.
It kind of gets lost in transition, Larry, but that last play, it's so hard to string a run play to the sideline after it's designed to go up the middle. So that's a true testament to this coaching staff and this Pekin front seven. They were able to bounce that to the outside, and their corners, who traditionally on a football team are not your greatest tacklers, able to come up and bring down one of the stronger runners from Belleville East before a 2-yard marker.
Well, you got to give it up for that front four for Pekin. They have plugged holes all night. Dawson Reese, Chase Rhodes, Braden Beckham, Caleb Cope among them, among many others. It's really been next man up, and it's gone beyond those names. A number of second stringers stepping in as well, and I'm sure we'll see a lot of those as we head into the fourth quarter. Scott Jordan, the quarterback, gives up the middle, and the carry here from Tanner Sprecher. A nice pickup on first down. That'll be the final play of the third quarter. It's all Pekin at Memorial Stadium tonight. Kanye Tyler with 3 touchdowns for the Dragons. They're on their way to 2-0, barring a comeback of epic proportions.
And that's the end of the third quarter.
Yep, as you said, Larry, as we wrap up quarter number 3, leave you off some quick numbers. Kanye Tyler, 18 carries, $178, averaging just under 10 yards per carry, and his 3 scores by far are the difference in tonight's ball game. And for Belleville East, not a lot doing on the offensive side of things. They're up to 106 yards total as a team. Their most explosive player tonight has been Trimble with 18 carries, 36 yards. He's averaging just about 2 yards a carry.
An impressive performance by the Pekin defense, considering that Moise Trimble had 101 yards last week on 6 carries. So he has done less with more this week, whereas last week he did more with less. Dragon atop the scoreboard is lit proud tonight. Dragons doing a dominant job back-to-back weeks to open the football season. Pekin band remains engaged. Not many folks have left here in Pekin. Give up the middle to Sprecher, fighting for space to the outside, keeping the legs moving, still on his feet. Brought down after a loss.
Yeah, an impressive run nonetheless, though. Able to break off a couple of would-be tacklers, but like you said, he'll still be brought down for the TFL. Let's give another Dragon on the turf.
Officials timeout.
Well, the cramps have struck again, Cody Roskins. Or at least we hope, knock on wood. We hate to jump to conclusions, but last week in my game at Peoria Notre Dame, or it was at Metamora, Peoria Notre Dame, traveling to play the Redbirds. In the second half, I kid you not, every other play it seemed that a player from either side would go down with a cramp. It was like clockwork. Play, huddle, play again, cramp. Huddle up, play again, cramp.
Yeah, and it was the same story for us, for those that were with us last week on ClutchSportsIL.com when we had the Chillicothe, IVC, and Paxton Buckley loaded game last week. It's just this, we're having an unseasonably warm August, and now it's leaking into September as it seems like the heat is just getting the better of these programs. And again, they coming off a spring season as well, so maybe the recovery just wasn't quite there, and the hydration as such is maybe just a little bit behind.
I will say, today it feels a little bit more like football weather. 3rd and 4 coming up for Pekin. Kanye Tyler back in the ball game. Jordan keeps it himself, and he is wrapped up in the backfield. O.J. Mosley wraps him up.
Now, one of the few times tonight that I'm not sure the Pekin offense really was all in sync. It looked like he maybe should have handed it off. I couldn't tell if they were trying to run an option look off the side of that, or if it was just a broken play, but nonetheless, Belleville East able to get off the field here via punt.
So the Dragons will have to punt from their own end zone. Big opportunity for East. DeAndre Clark Jr. back to return.
And it looks like that Belleville East will try and load up one half of the side of the ball that they think will be the quickest path to the punter and try and get this thing blocked.
So Elijah Hunt will punt. High snap, and the kick gets off. High arcing. And Clark lets it bounce and now roll past midfield. It takes a Pekin bounce. That's the type of bounce you sometimes get on your home field, Cody.
Yeah, and a dangerous play there for both sides. But one, nearly getting the punt blocked on the Pekin side of things. On the other side, letting the ball bounce, almost coming up and hitting the return man. That would have been a live football and would have gone back to Pekin.
East, regardless, still with a short field, right on that Pekin P at midfield.
Might I add, Larry, we have a great uniform match today. I don't think we've touched on it at all. Pekin's all red. This is my first time coming to Pekin. Love their uniforms. And Belleville East, you don't see the navy and powder blue or Carolina blues so often to speak.
Oh, I'm a big fan of that color scheme. Me personally, I'm a big fan of the color blue. Anytime you got blue versus red, it's appeasing to the eye. Man in motion. And the quarterback, Melender, looking long, and he overthrows his man. Cannon Walker hustling deep there, looking for a pass interference call. No dice.
Yeah, and again, that time they ran that action that we saw them get so open on the seams a couple of times, but instead they were able to get to the Z wide receiver up the seam. Instead, there was the X that time that was open. That's all about reading the safety layer. If that safety takes the interior of the field, you throw it over his shoulder pads and over his helmet to the X wide receiver. Instead, the Z in the slot was the man that was covered. Again, it's just all about making those decisions out of this two-quarterback system.
Penalty call on the Dragons here. First down, Belleville East.
43-yard line. First and 10.
First and 10 from the Pekin 43. Melender finds his man Martin over the middle. He's wrapped up by Kanye Tyler.
Pass complete to number 10, Kerry Martin.
Tyler with a big hit there. He was fired up. Tyler, a guy we talk a lot about on the offensive side of the ball, Cody. I asked him during practice earlier this week, what do you like better, offense or defense? He said, I don't have a favorite. I want people to describe me as an all-around player, and I think that can be said of the star junior.
Yeah, he has messed around a lot today in the passing and run game.
There's a man wide open. Dixon hauls it in. Did he get into the end zone? No, he did not, but what a catch.
Well, Larry, you and I both believe in the commentator's jinx, so we'll take that one, Tyler. We maybe have distracted him with as much nice talk as we've had with him tonight as the sideline catch in his area gets him down to the 1.
Belleville East looking for their first touchdown of the night. They were knocking on the door in the first quarter, and they haven't been anywhere close since until now. Melender out of the gun, Trimble in the backfield. A man in motion, it's Butler. The give up the middle to Trimble, and he's in. Touchdown, Belleville East. Hell of a chance to get within 18 points.
Yeah, finally an end zone pay dirt trip, however you want to describe it for Belleville East. Trimble has been held in check much tonight, so it's nice to see the amount of touches he's got tonight. Finally able to find some pay dirt and bring his team within a couple scores.
East getting on the board here in the fourth quarter, and they will attempt the extra point here. Cannon Walker getting ready to boot it, and he misses wide right.
And wide.
Scoreboard accidentally puts an extra point on the board. They quickly take it off. So the score holds 28-9 in favor of Pekin. We will take this break to remind you that tonight's presentation of Clutch Sports Media is brought to you by Zach Butler State Farm here in Pekin. For all your insurance needs, call 309-347-3115 or visit sfbutler.com. Again, you can visit sfbutler.com or call 309-347-3115. For all your insurance needs, it's Zach Butler in Pekin. Thanks to Zach, and thanks to everybody who's joined us tonight on ClutchSportsIL.com. CSM Game of the Week between big school non-conference opponents. First game of a 2-year contract for these opponents. The Dragons will make the 2.5-hour trip down south next year. And I'm sure our friends who have tuned in at Belleville are probably a little happy about that. They'll definitely have the home field advantage in that game. Not a ton of folks have traveled for the Lancers up here, but again, a 2.5-hour trip. Not easy. Walker gives a line drive kick all the way back, fielded at the 15-yard line, and the ball carrier takes a knee, Tanner Sprecher. And now a extracurricular flag flies in. A Pekin blocker was knocked down, and that'll move up the Dragons to start the drive.
Yeah, and that was well after the play, and in high school there's just no room for that in the sport. Very late, unsportsmanlike, however you want to describe it. It's going to cost his team some yardage. Credit to Pekin, not escalating the situation, diffusing it very quickly. Responsible teammates holding their teammate in check and just getting to the sideline.
Personal foul on Belleville East is the call, as expected. We've got some Twitter feedback from one of our fans watching. Curly Boo Johnson, a noted fan of Clutch Sports Media, says, Kanye helping make Pekin great again.
So the Dragons will start their possession 37-yard line.
Well, you mentioned it, Larry. Sometimes Pekin gets lost in the jumble that is the Mid-Illini Conference. So here they are making a statement, like you said, a battle of two big schools. And Kanye Tyler going off tonight. Read you his stat line real quick. 18 for a $178, 3 scores. Hard to ask for much more than that.
Hard to be better than that, but last week he ran for 260. So I'm sure he'll try to top that here in this fourth quarter. Might be a tall ask, but we'll see. Scott Jordan, the quarterback, gives to Tyler up the middle. He's got space. He gets down near the sticks.
And he just runs hard. Like, it doesn't matter where the play is. And again, another Belleville East unsportsmanlike conduct penalty.
Coach Harrison is not happy, whether that's with his own players or with the officials. Unsportsmanlike conduct again. Harrison shouting something towards the direction of the field.
And that was on the far side of the field. For those who didn't catch it, it's just a simple run play up the middle, and the Belleville East players collided with one of the wide receivers and were instigating him on and just wouldn't let him get off the ground.
Well, it was offsetting penalties, so fault on both sides there. So we will play on. It's important that this game stays in control. The officials have been doing a good job tonight. Pekin well in control in terms of the score, 28-9. Dragons well on their way to 2-0. Belleville East trying to prevent going 0-2 to start the season.
Gain of 6.
Jordan from the pistol. Tyler up the middle, wrapped up near the line of scrimmage, keeping the legs moving, and the play's blown dead.
Tyler on the carry.
Gets close to the sticks, but he'll be marked short. Third down and short coming up.
On the stop.
Yep, and this is where Pekin wants to live and has lived all night in their third down and short situations. Got a plethora of options. They got, obviously, again, the great running back situation. They could also throw it out to one of their skilled wide positions at wide receiver, and the quarterback's not a bad athlete as well.
Scott Jordan, the junior QB, he told me the #1 place he's been working on in terms of his skill as a quarterback has been running. He keeps it here, and that'll be enough for a first down. It's all the way down near the 50. More extracurriculars at the 45. No flags fly. Probably a good call there. Looked like two guys scrapping, and now flags fly, and it looks like Anthony Cunningham has been ejected.
What a series of events, Mr. Larry Larson. That's been kind of building up here the last couple of plays ever since the kickoff.
Well, excuse me, not Cunningham has been ejected. Cunningham remains on the field, so apologies to him. Demarius Jones ejected, the senior linebacker, a captain for the Lancers, and that's really frustrating. Things have come to a boiling point here. And I think he was looking for a flag to be thrown. He was pleading his case to the official. The official said, grab some bench.
Yeah, you know, it's like you said, Larry, it's hitting that boiling point, and in a game like this where it's 28-9, not necessarily close with, what is it, a 6.5 roughly left. Can't quite tell from this angle on the scoreboard.
That would be 8.5.
8.5. Oh, you missed a light bulb here and there. But not a ton of time left, and so for Belleville East, they got to try and just keep their composure, stay calm, and try and execute. It's not worth just handing out 15-yard gifts every other play just because your emotions get the better of you.
Definitely not worth it. And if you get ejected in an IHSA game, you're suspended for the next contest automatically. So that's going to be an issue for Demarius Jones as head coach Michael Harrison looks for an explanation from one of our officials.
Personal foul after the play. Play rejection.
That ovation you hear is the Pekin crowd responding to the official call from the officials. Let me tell you, I think the Lancers will probably remember this game come next year when the Dragons travel down to the Metro East. Who knows? Maybe they can get them next year. But now it's all about staying focused on the game, keeping your head on straight, and just trying to build some positive momentum.
Yeah, and going off that point that you had there, Larry, they've had some great momentum here in the second half. Offensively, moved the ball a little more, got their first touchdown of the game on their last offensive series. Defense has been a little hit and miss in the second half, but a lot of it has to do with the great play of Pekin. So we'll kind of like to see how they bounce around here, maybe let cooler heads prevail, see if they can't get back to the X's and O's.
The officials still deliberating, and I think I heard a fan shout below us, this is delay of game. It would be kind of hard for the officials to throw that flag against themselves.
Yeah, Larry, I don't have a referee's box for stats in the stat spreadsheet, but maybe for next week.
And now the entire officiating crew, with the exception of that one right there, has gathered with head coach Mike Harrison. He's trying to plead his case, get an explanation, and he has heard a sufficient one, so he heads back to the sideline. And maybe, fingers crossed, we'll get this game moving again. At long last, here we go.
First down for the Dragons.
Jordan, the pitch to Tyler. Blocker's on the outside, finds a hole, but he's wrapped up after a gain of 4.
Yeah, just a little pistol toss to the far side. Get a lead blocker out in front, pull the right guard alongside him. Nice X's and O's, very pleasing, simple play. Get to the sideline and let Kanye Tyler do a little bit of magic.
Generally, that's worked. It looked like a Lancer just got him on the shoulder pad to bring him down.
Second down. 6.
2nd and 6 here. Bo Benassi, the receiver, at the bottom half of your screen. The give to Tyler up the gut. He falls forward for another chunky yardage. Short of the sticks, 3rd and short, forthcoming.
Kanye Tyler once again on the carry to stop.
Once again, Larry, we've said it time and time again tonight. 3rd down and short for Pekin's been their bread and butter. A lot of places they could go. Kanye Tyler comes off the field. Still not taking the run game out of the play calling situation here, though.
Tanner Sprecher is the back behind Jordan in the pistol. He calls out an audible to the offensive line, and now he takes the quarterback keeper. Can his offensive lineman keep him moving? He bounces to the outside and gets a pretty big gain out of it. Looked like he was trapped in the middle, but all of a sudden he spun out of it and moves the chains.
Yeah, showing that Kanye Tyler isn't the only one with a little bit of magic in his feet. Just keeps the legs moving, like you said, working on his running as one of his main points of the offseason, able to spin out of a tackle. Showing Kanye, hey, I can get the ball moving as well when it's in my hands.
Another first down for Pekin. Sprecher gets space, gets hit by a linebacker or defensive back. The safety Cannon Walker levying a hit.
Tanner Sprecher carrying for the Dragons.
2 good athletes colliding there. 2nd and short coming up for the Dragons. Under 6.5 minutes left in this one. Non-conference battle, week 2 of the IHSA football season. Next week, conference play starts for Pekin in the Middle Illini Conference. They'll take on Dunlap right here at Pekin Memorial Stadium, and you can listen to that game on 101.1 ESPN Peoria, the Friday Night Showcase, powered by Clutch Sports Media. Here's Sprecher again, weaving in and out of traffic to the goal line for the touchdown.
What more can you say, Larry? These running backs just do not quit with the ball in their hands. They know they have a job to do, and that's to find first downs and touchdowns. And they've been in plenty tonight for Pekin.
That's the 4th rushing touchdown of the night for these Dragons, rolling their way to an undefeated start to the season over Belleville East. Miley Hansen looking to stay perfect on the extra points. The hold is good. The kick is good. Sneaks in the right upright. Miley Hansen, the sophomore soccer player and now football player for the Dragons, continues to have a successful start to the season. Sprecher finding the end zone for the first time this season, making it 35-9. Another dominant showing, and you gotta figure if you're to take a power rankings or coach's poll of sorts in the Mid-Illini Conference, I think Pekin's getting some first-place votes.
You think? After tonight and the week they had last week against Rock Island, I don't see any reason why you couldn't give them a couple first-place votes. With the young talent they have around this roster, this is going to be a very dangerous team come later in the season.
It'll be interesting to see if they get any votes in the 7A Associated Press poll. I hypothesize that they won't get many, and I'll get into that in a second. Hansen swings the leg again, and it bounces out of bounds. So the flag is dropped. Kick out of bounds is the penalty. But Cody, whenever you talk 7A schools, 8A schools, it is those big schools up in the Chicago suburbs, inner city Chicago, and then East St. Louis as well, down in that Metro East area. And Central Illinois tends to get forgotten in those polls. There's more media members, of course, that watch those suburban teams and teams down by St. Louis than there are media members that watch teams like the Dragons.
Yeah, and, you know, that's kind of like that in any larger state with a media market. And like, of course, Chicago is about as large of a media market as it gets in the U.S. And it's unfortunate to say, but this is why Pekin's going to come out every week, and I'm sure their coaching staff preaches it to them. Come out and prove to them why you're worth that.
Julian Bennett gets a 1-yard gain, second and long coming up. Me and Joey Wright talked about this on the Wednesday walkthrough on 101.1 ESPN Peoria, I think before week 1. And rankings are a little bit dangerous for teams, right? If you get selected for those rankings, maybe it gives you a confidence boost. It's good for the ego, sure. But maybe then you tend to rest back on your laurels. Whereas if you don't get included in those polls, then the goal is, okay, let's prove them wrong. It's that chip on the shoulder bulletin board material for the locker room. False start on the Lancers. That'll move them back 5.
Yeah, and I'll argue the other side of that point, Larry, is if you come into a game with a number next to your team's name, like let's say Pekin were to get a couple votes this week and they get ranked, next week, that's all the more motivation for the team they'll eventually be playing to come at them, and you're going to get every team's best shot once you're ranked. And that's just more fuel for the other team. So all around, you know, different angles you could look at that. But I think ultimately that comes down to just how the coaches keep their players level-headed and keel, eyes on the road, so to speak, and really keep them pointed in the right direction.
I was talking to head coach Doug Nutter for Pekin on Thursday before this game, and he said, it sounds cliche, but the goal every week is to go 1-0. Not look ahead of that, not look behind the last week. And he said, I know that every coach uses that analogy, but it's true. We're just trying to stay in the moment. And then I talked to Kanye Tyler, and he looked ahead just a little bit. He said, if we win this week and beat Belleville East, I think that kind of puts us on the map. If we beat Rock Island, Belleville East back-to-back, we can beat anybody on our schedule. He's not wrong because those are 2 big schools.
Absolutely. And like you said, with the way Kanye Tyler ran today and the way this offense produced in clutch situations all night and third downs and such, I don't know why they couldn't.
Long pass incomplete. Melender was looking for Willie Butler there. Could not find him, came up a bit short. So here comes 4th and 14.
Looks like we're going to get a couple more subs into the game here, Larry, with the clock kind of dwindling down around 5 minutes. Maybe Pekin trying to get some of those younger, fresher bodies in the game.
Levi Burke and Kanye Tyler still back deep to return. Now the whistle is blown and a timeout is taken by Belleville East before the punt.
Timeout, Lancer.
Mike Harrison wants to talk something over with his group, and we'll take this timeout to once again remind you that tonight's presentation of Clutch Sports Media is brought to you by Zach Butler State Farm here in Pekin. For all your insurance needs, call 309-347-3115 or visit sfbutler.com. Again, you can call 309-347-3115 or visit sfbutler.com for all your insurance needs. It's Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. Thanks to everybody tuned in on your Friday evening. Big school matchup. Two schools separated by a drive of 2.5 hours, and it's not going to be a fun drive back for Belleville East tonight.
No, I imagine it'll be a pretty quiet bus ride, a lot of self-reflection, and a game that should have been a little more competitive than it has been to this point, Larry, but again, just the minor mistakes adding up and plenty tonight for Belleville East.
High snap. Recovered. Kanye Tyler nearly muffs the return, but he falls on it, and the Dragons will take over from their own territory. And I think that shows you Kanye Tyler's competitive nature. It would have been easy for him to just dash out of the way, and frankly, that would have been the smart thing to do. But he wants that return. He wants to make something happen, even though this game is well in hand in favor of the Dragons.
Yeah, and we've seen the punts take a couple weird bounces tonight on both sides of the ball. We saw one when Pekin was punting earlier, took a very friendly bounce. So if he doesn't field that, it caught, who knows, maybe it cost his team 15 yards in the net punting average. But I think, like you hit it right on the head, Larry. This kid is just a phenomenal competitor, and in a game where he's up now 35-9, he could have easily asked to be out of the game.
Jordan gives up the gut. Forward progress stops the runner.
Number 22, Levi Burke on the carry. Moves the ball just beyond the 40-yard line. It'll be second down.
Second down and medium coming up for the Dragons. Under 4.5 remaining in this one. Another give up the gut. Clock keeps ticking.
Levi Burke once again.
That defensive line swallows up the runner once more.
Puts the ball on the other side of the 40-yard line. Third down.
Third down and about 8 coming up for the Dragons. They're just going to let this clock run. Try and wind this thing down as we creep towards the culmination of week 2. Isaac Thomas, the sophomore back, has gotten the last 2 carries for the Dragons. Pekin going to the spread now. And again, that was Thomas on the carry, brought down in the backfield.
Isaac Thomas.
And now it's 4th and long. Pekin will send out the punt crew.
Yeah, this time just getting a couple of guys that maybe wouldn't get a lot of varsity playing experience in a closer game. Some chances to touch the rock and save some energy for their more touted starters. And all around, a good effort tonight from Pekin. Belleville East, definitely some stuff to go back in the lab and work on here the coming week from practice. But still some positives for them. We saw some good quarterback play. Still over 60% completion percentage for their starters tonight. Both quarterbacks played well in their various roles, and definitely a lot to take back on the bright side of things for Belleville East.
I would agree. I mean, in terms of flashes, we saw a lot from the Lancers tonight. Those quarterbacks can throw it. They've got good athletes, but they just couldn't put it all together with the exception, of course, of about 2 drives. A booming punt. Fair caught beyond the 30-yard line. Closer to the 25. Camille Waller with good hands to haul that one in. Risky catch and a great punt.
And going off of what you said just a few seconds ago, Larry, a lot of times coaches, and my high school coach was the exact same way. He says, we dream of being teams like the Sun. They don't ever turn it off, right? You don't want to be a flashlight team where, you're spotty one. Let's say you get a bad AA battery in there and it turns off the next. You got to be a team that has it on all the time, day and night. And I feel like Pekin has been more so like that tonight than Belleville East has. They've been a little bit more spotty, and in times tonight it just hasn't shown, but in other times they've been really, really good.
We want to be a team like the Sun. That's the most football coach quote I've ever heard. Picked off. Tanner Sprecher to the house to put the exclamation point on a big Dragons victory in week 2.
Talking about never turning it off, Larry. Pekin says our offense can score, well, our defense can score too. And Pekin will have them running off into the night, a happy crowd with 2:20 to go.
Pekin band proudly playing the fight song tonight. Miley Hansen on once more. The hold from Jordan, the kick is good. Hansen remains perfect. And Pekin has been pretty darn close to perfect tonight. As you mentioned, just not turning it off. Both sides of the ball getting the job done. And barring a late score from the Lancers, this one will be final at 42-9.
Yeah, not a lot of looks to that cover 2 defense that we saw last time. Able to bounce back the linebackers in the zone. They ran a little spot route, jumps it. And like you said, Larry, putting the exclamation point on this one.
Let me tell you, we saw a great crowd here at Pekin Memorial Stadium tonight. It's going to be even bigger next week. The Dragons are a force to be reckoned with here in the Mid-Illini Conference. And I asked Kanye Tyler in our chat yesterday before practice, I said, anything you want to add, anything you think I should know about your team? He said, just look out for us. Fair enough.
Who was that? President Theodore Roosevelt said, walk quietly and carry a big stick. That's the Pekin Dragons here tonight. Not a lot of extracurricular things, coming here and taking care of business.
Yeah, not exactly flashy, just doing the little things right. That's one thing that head coach Doug Nutter told me he was really pleased with in week 1 was just the little things. They've done the little things right tonight with the exception of a few plays in the 3rd quarter. Big return possible here as Willie Butler dashes near midfield.
Willie Butler on the kickoff return on the stop. Number 17, Blake Young.
So about 2 minutes left here, and Cody, if you're the Lancers, what's the approach?
Coming out and trying to score. I mean, it sounds cliche, but your offense has a job to do. You could set this up like you do in practice, get the ball at midfield, a 2-minute drill, see if your offense can't find a way to put one in the end zone, and try and find some more positives to take back with you on the road. And like you said, it's a long 2.5-hour ride back, so you might as well find some positives to take along with you.
Shades of Matt Hasselback, we want the ball, we're going to score. I think the last drive probably looked a little bit more like that, unfortunately for the Lancers. Of course, that famous playoff overtime ending with a pick 6 out of the hand of Seahawks quarterback Matt Hasselback. Under 2 minutes to go in week 2. Looking ahead for the Lancers, we've talked plenty about the Dragons. Belleville East will take on Matea Valley next week, another non-conference game. And the sprinklers are coming on at Memorial Stadium.
Well, Larry,
oh no.
When you got a team that's hot, it's the only way to cool them off. Well, Larry,
looks like the Lancers are just going to keep on playing. They've approached the line of scrimmage. They just want to get this one over with. Fair enough. I've seen it all, folks. Butler, the man in motion. They give up the gut to Luke Frepon as the sprinklers continue to roll, and it sounds like somebody dropped an instrument on the track to make it even funnier.
I know back rhyme from Larry in the state of Iowa, if the sprinklers were to turn on half the field and you were attacking that half, you would just flip sides. But like you said, they're just going to keep playing. They're going to the side with no sprinkler action, but they better watch out. The offensive line's going to get wet.
The huddle's getting sprayed for the Lancers.
When it rains, it pours, I guess, for Belleville East, for better or worse. And
oh, man.
Seems like the universe is out to get them tonight.
It epitomizes the night. Head coach Mike Harrison is out to discuss with the officials. It looked like the sprinklers were shutting off. Now they're starting to come back up. Everybody's holding their collective breath. Oh, my goodness. Now the sprinklers are receding back into the well-manicured grass, and now we can end this game under normal circumstances. Holy mackerel.
39-yard line, 1st and 10.
DJ Melender out of the shotgun. Gives up the gut. Luke Frepon again swallowed up by the Pekin defensive line. That'll be enough to move the chains forward. It won't be correction. Looks like the chain gang was a little behind. They were also probably a little rattled by those sprinklers. Under a minute to go now.
What a game, Mr. Larry Larson. I've said it a couple times, but what haven't we seen tonight? Next thing you know, we're going to be like the Superdome and the lights will go out or something, knock on wood, but it's been a heck of a game tonight in Pekin.
Could be one of the last plays of the game here. Freepon trying to break free. Big gain there. That'll move the chains. 30 seconds to go.
I like the way he's ran the last couple of carries. He's got a lot of just get and go with that straight line speed, not a lot of indecision with his cuts. He's ran well with the opportunities he's been given tonight.
Ball on the 24-yard line, 1st and 10.
1st and 10 from the Pekin 24 for Belleville East. Last play of the ball game coming up. Barring a stoppage of play, they give up the gut to Freepon. He falls forward, and that will do it. The Pekin Dragons roll their way to a 2-0 start. 42-9, your final over Belleville East.
Belleville East 9, your Pekin Dragons 42. Once again,
the hero tonight, Kanye Tyler, 3 touchdowns. Tanner Sprecher adds a touchdown on the ground. And a touchdown through the air from Scott Jordan to Bo Benassi.
Yeah, Larry, just a quick recap of what we saw tonight. Utter a domination in the trenches tonight by Pekin on both fronts of the ball. Kanye Tyler, what more can you say, Larry? Got close to his 200-yard mark here tonight. Didn't quite finish it off with the shallow carries he had later in the game. Still a 3-touchdown performance, however. Like you said, the quarterback play for both teams was solid. Let's look forward to the next couple games for these two teams. Got to look for Pekin to stay strong in the trenches. Belleville East, we saw a couple of flashes of how good they can be at that quarterback spot and outside playmakers. They've got to find a way to be more consistent on the ground. You can't just turn it off and on like we said when it comes to the battle on the trenches.
Absolutely not. You cannot. Pekin improves to 2-0, while Belleville East falls to 0-2. They've got one more non-conference matchup left. While the Dragons will move to Mid-Illini Conference play next week against Dunlap here at Pekin Memorial Stadium. That game getting underway at 7:30 p.m. on 101.1 ESPN Peoria. I'll have the call with John Camosa presumably for that game. It should be a good one to start Mid-Illini Conference play. And before we go, one more time, we want to remind you that tonight's presentation of Clutch Sports Media is brought to you by Zach Butler State Farm here in Pekin. Call 309-347-3115 for all your insurance needs or visit sfbutler.com. Again, that's Zach Butler State Farm here in Pekin. As you can see, the Dragons huddled up, waiting for their head coach, Doug Nutter, and the celebration is on. Well, Cody, before we wrap it up, any final thoughts?
Well, this is my first time ever seeing Pekin in action. I want to say I'm very impressed. Very well-coached team, well-disciplined. They looked sound on both sides of the ball. For Belleville East, got some things to work on going forward. We said on it. They'll get in the lab in practice this week and iron some things out. I'm sure they'll be fine coming down the stretch of their season. Still a lot of football to be played for both these teams. But you got to like the trajectory of Pekin, and for Belleville East, it's just finding a way to consistently get it done on offense. Their quarterbacks were great tonight. You just got to find a way to get everybody else involved.
Absolutely. Well, that does it for our entire Clutch Sports Media team here tonight. Matt Harrington at the controls, Gavin Russell on stats, Josh Schwam, Francisco Alonso on the social media grind. Find Josh's pictures here shortly on our Instagram page at Clutch Sports Media. Rodrigo Perez up top on the camera. And for my partner, Cody Roskins, this is Larry Larson saying so long and good night from Pekin. Again, your final. The Dragons dominate Belleville East 42-9. So long, everybody.